What's your favorite scary movie?
This is Halloween Town.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Beetlejuice.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare.
You bastards! Why are you torturing me like this? Why?
Okay, the podcast isn't that bad.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cheap Seat Critics podcast, where today we'll be covering The Evil Dead.
Dun dun dun.
Whoa! One of a fan favorite.
Yes,
The original, not the remake.
not the remake.
This is a cult classic. and
1981.
I have finally been dragged before the altar.
Hey, at least we
movie.
didn't throw bread at you like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
That's true. I was expecting Rotten Tomatoes, but they're getting bought out by corporations and
Yeah,
stuff. So.
All right, down the line, please introduce yourselves, gentlemen.
Hello, I am one of your hosts, a geeky writer.
I'm Chris Maroon.
I'm a character called Sinister Boy.
And I'm Sprinks. R. Because I say R
Yeah.
because on the YouTube end of things today, we are in our Halloween get-ups for the Halloween special for today, and or currently, wherever you're listening or watching right now. Thank you. And that's YouTube at Cheap Seat Critics. You can also follow us over on Twitter if you like. I think we're still just going to call it Twitter. I know nobody who calls it X. So it's Cheap Seat Critics with a CRITIX. And then also, if you look us up on Facebook, Cheap Seat Critics Podcast, or on Instagram or TikTok, you'll find us over there as well. And if you're on the YouTube visual ends, I guess we can go over the costumes we decided for this year.
Spooky, scary skeletons. Yeah, I went with death. I guess we're trying to go with the classic store-bought Spirit Halloween chief
Trick-or-treaters.
look. Trick-or-treaters. Yeah, we're going trick-or-treaters pretty much.
Yeah, so we
the
got.
only-
I'm
Oh, do you want to name them
the
off
devil.
yourselves? There we go. Okay.
I'm the devil.
I'm a ghost.
And I dressed up as a theme this year, so I'm a pirate.
R.
Haha. Call back.
Inside joke.
That is definitely an inside joke. Go watch episode 0, everybody.
All right, so I guess we'll get started with a little history behind this movie. I'm not going to really do so much facts at the beginning, mainly because I have a lot, and I feel like I can whittle them in to specific scenes a little bit easier, so we don't take up too much time in this intro. But we'll give a little history, individual and otherwise, and we'll start with personal history, and then I'll do a little bit more of an overlay of the history of the film. So starting from Sprinks.
Oh
History
boy.
of the movie.
I'll start with my history. This was a movie that was talked to me many times by Sinister, of being one of his favorites. And one October, I can't remember what year, it was probably back in 2012, 2013, my best guess. It was Sinister, Crimson, and I all sat down and we watched The Evil Dead. And when it finished, I hated it. I thought it was such a bad film. And Sinister was like talking to me like, no, you don't understand. It's time of its from its time. It's a little outdated, but going on about it and trying to lift my spirits on it. I'm like, no, this sucks. I don't like it. And then I don't remember it was the same day that we watched Evil Dead 2. I do enjoy Evil Dead 2 more. And then that was it. I have not seen Army of Darkness. I've seen I've seen some episodes of Ash vs. Evil Dead. I have not seen the 2013 version, and I have not seen, was it Rises, the newer one with the mom? I haven't seen that either. I've played the video game, Evil Dead the game. I really enjoy that one. In case anyone's curious, I play Army of Darkness Ash. And then I think it was 2018 or 2019 or something. I went, I haven't seen this movie in a while. I'll watch it again, see if I still dislike it as much. And I still somewhat did. And I just went, ugh, kind of just eh. And then I watched it for a third time for the podcast.
Then we'll get your thoughts on it for the pod. All right.
Yes. All right, and writer. please.
Alright. Yeah, my experience with this is very, very similar to Spring's. Only, I just never got around to watching it. It's always been on my I've just been told that I need to watch this over and over again. The reason I've avoided it is just gave me cult classic vibes, which a little bit worrisome, but I'm guessing kind of happy I watched it finally. I've heard in the sense that I've heard about all of it and all the sequels. I've seen none of them. I have seen episodes of the Ash versus Evil Dead TV show. And that was pretty much my main introduction to the charm, the charming man that is Bruce Campbell. Um, but that is pretty much it for my history. I'm just kind of happy to finally get this off the watch list, I guess. And so this is my first and only time that I've seen it for the pod.
And Crimson.
All right. As Springs mentioned, the three of us watched it one year. I agree with the assessments, probably 2013 or 14. And that was my first time because Sinister was bringing it up all the time. I liked it more than Sprinks did at the time. Wasn't one of my favorite movies or anything, but I thought it was all right. Through the years, I've watched it here and there. For the podcast, might have been my fifth time watching it, something around there. I think the more I've watched it, the more I've liked it, and that might be because I've seen the show. I think the show is the best part of the Evil Dead franchise. Granted, I haven't read any of the comics. I haven't played the old video games. I've only played the new one. But the show's the best part of it, and I think it helps with this just because Bruce Campbell. Not to mention, I like Bruce Campbell because he's also good in Burn Notice. Shout out to that. Anyone who wants to watch that.
I need to finish that show with you, Crimson.
Yeah, you got a lot to go. There's 7 seasons of that.
7 seasons to be
Indeed.
covered on the pod.
Yeah.
yeah. I think that mostly makes it up. I've seen it a couple times with my dad. There you go.
All right, down me last. I'm a big fan of the Evil Dead franchise. It's probably one of my favorite horror franchises out there. It's definitely, I think, one of the better ones. But that's my personal opinion. But I think financially and artistically, I think those might stand up a little bit higher than most. The first 2 Halloween movies and maybe a few others, notwithstanding. I didn't see this one first though. I saw Evil Dead 2 first, and then I was like, "Oh, I really like that movie," and I really into it. And then I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to the." I was at Best Buy, and you could still buy DVDs at Best Buy with a
Back in the
relative,
day.
yeah, with a relative selection. And I was like, "Oh, this says Evil Dead on it," and I watched it, and it was not at all the movie that I had seen previously. And then I come to find out that it was the first, and then they had the sequel, which is marketing. Well, legally is not related to the first one because they couldn't do the first one, but it is. So this is technically not canon for the rest of the series. It's very shaky, like the camera
I,
work.
I would guess. That would have been my guess at the end. I
Yeah,
assumed it wouldn't be canon.
Until the
but
show
until the show,
references it, which
which
makes it blurry.
yeah. Anyway. But for most of the history, this is technically not wasn't considered canon for the rest of the other 2 movies, and I have not seen. I will say I haven't seen the latest one yet, or the technically somewhat remake. But this is still probably, and this is not my favorite. I've seen it the least probably out of the 3, which means I've only seen it like 10 or 12 times, and not the 20. Um, but it's a scrappy little independent movie. So it's got a lot. I think it has a lot more heart than the 2 that came after. And with that, I will now go into a little bit of a history of the making of this movie. Like I said earlier, consolidating it, gonna have some facts for certain scenes, and not gonna front load it. But so this movie was originally started in about 1979, didn't come out until 1981. To finance the picture, because back then they still called movies pictures. They got investors from local Detroitians because they're all from Detroit, and their plan was originally to raise about $150,000 and shoot it on Super 8, which they would then blow up. Which apparently they were told they could blow up to 35 millimeters through a special process. They only raised 85 to 90,000. It was hard to pin down a specific number for that. But they decided that it was enough to get started. And in the process of raising money and doing all this, they did a test because they did a test film for investors called Within the Woods, which is a proto Evil Dead of this, which a lot of people have said is actually scarier than the actual scary movie that they ended up making. I haven't seen it in a while, so I haven't A and B tested it, but it's only about 32 minutes, so it's probably a little bit faster paced, but it's interesting how. Quick aside, the sequel pretty much does this whole movie in about 15 minutes. So they did 32 minutes for Within the Woods, and then they made it down to 15 for the second one. All right. But they shot that on Super 8 millimeter, and instead of realizing that if they blew it up, the test negative of that would be gone, and they wouldn't be able to show it to investors if it didn't work, they shot about an 8-minute long proto version of what would essentially be the Evil Dead, which at the time was called the Book of the Dead, and found out that the process of blowing it up from 8 to 35 did not work, and they would have to shoot in 16 millimeters. So this is a 16 millimeter movie blown up to 35 millimeters. Originally, they were planning on shooting this in Michigan, and unfortunately, the time it took to raise the money and get everybody auditioned and cast meant that fall was approaching. And if anybody knows, fall and winters in Michigan are hard, to say the least. And they knew they were going to be filming outside a lot. And plus, they knew they needed a cabin, so they opted instead to go to Tennessee for warmer weather. Ironically, it was actually the coldest winter Tennessee had ever experienced, fall and winter, and was the mildest that Michigan had ever experienced.
I mean, that explains like the frost you can see in their mouths, though, in some scenes.
Yeah.
So.
The character actress who played Shelley ended up, or Cheryl, sorry, ran around barefoot in the woods, and literally her feet were bloody and messed up, mangled from running on the woods for several hours from how cold it was. The original cabin they had in Tennessee that they got from the Tennessee Film Board, the owners got cold feet the last second, so they went up there without actually a filming location. They had to scramble for a couple days to actually find the cabin that they ended up getting, which was supposedly haunted. I couldn't find any definitive on that. But it had no running water, no electricity, and was about 3 inches covered inside with cow dung.
Wow.
Probably. Meaning it was 3 inches thick, by the way, not that it was only 3 inches was covered. Which, so they filmed all the exterior shots and then went in for the interior ones after it had been cleaned out. However, there is some stuff shot in Michigan. It is anything in the cellar because the cabin did not actually have a cellar. And if you see any scenes with the cellar, it is actually producer Robert Tappert's parents' garage.
Interesting. They had a stairway that descends into a garage.
Yeah, pretty incredible. And one last little thing. There's a bunch of other stuff, but I think I can fit it in as we go along. Is I could not find a definitive. I have 2 books on the Evil Dead, by the way, and I was kind of A and Bing both to kind of find little anecdotes and things. I was not able to find anything that could pin down how much of the script was written or how much of a script they had when starting, but I was able to come to an estimate by using the cast anecdotes and the production anecdotes. Somewhere between 16 and 66 pages.
Large gap.
Yeah. Which, if anybody in the industry knows, a page is a minute of screen time, so a little bit less than normal. So most scenes were either came up on the spot while filming, or were slightly plotted out. But the basic structure, I believe, was what ended up.
Yeah, I'm sure they had a through line of some sort.
And the ending was not written by Sam Raimi, unfortunately.
The ending
It was
from
written by
like
this one.
the yeah, but from like what's
Yeah.
the start of considering the ending? Is it from the leaf? Like the point
When
of
he gets
view?
when he gets attacked. When
Okay.
he gets attacked, the POV. Yeah, that was written by the production assistant Josh Becker, who was helping out and had helped out on Raimi's previous student films and whatnot. Because Raimi could not figure out the way to end it, and that was about the only thing they had before they had to leave. Oh, and I guess one last thing. I don't want to front load, but got to do it. Originally, they were budgeted for a 6-week shoot. That did not happen. It was 12 weeks.
Substantially more.
So, yeah. So after about 6 weeks, the actors who played Scotty, Shelley, and Cheryl were no longer available. I believe they might have done some reshoots. I couldn't really figure out anything definitive on that. It was a little murky. But safe to say, for about 6 weeks, it was Sam Raimi, Robert Tappert, Bruce Campbell, Josh Beckert, and maybe one other person shooting everything, doing sound and everything. So, that's how it works, man, in films.
Well,
Work with
independently
what you have.
done films.
Well, yeah. All right. That's all the history you're going to get for now, and we're going to launch into this. Starting with Crimson.
Awesome. One little bit of my history I forgot to mention was I've seen a video on Evil Dead the Musical.
Oh yeah, I
Like-
forgot about that.
I have not seen Evil Dead the Musical either.
I've seen a little bit of that. I forgot that
There's
was
a
a thing.
musical?
Yeah, where there's a
It's a
splash
stage.
zone.
Yeah, it's a stage theater musical.
All right. That sounds like it would be funny to watch.
It is, supposedly.
Yeah.
Sinister.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut. Going to Crimson for start here. Did you want to go over the structure we'll be
Oh, yeah,
formatting?
All right. We're doing 3-act popcorn structure. The acts are from the beginning to Cheryl is attacked. Cheryl is attacked to Ash takes out Linda. Ash takes out Linda to the end.
All right. I'll hop in first. I will not do what I always do. I'm not starting at the beginning.
You're not
I
That's
know.
insane.
Are you starting at the-
Now,
are you starting
now
at the
that's
ending?
scary.
Absolutely terrifying.
Sus. Calling sus. It's not him.
I'm
Yeah.
possessed, actually. uh, I'll jump to Cheryl not informing anybody about her possessed hand and the stopping clock. Why?
What?
Well, why
Uh,
wouldn't you tell anybody about that?
I assume she did actually, because it's kind of implied that she talked about what happened at dinner. Though obviously it's clear they're focusing more on the haunted cellar rather than the possessed hand. I assume she did, which was I did think I agree. It was very weird though.
No, they were just all happy, cheery at the table and talk about anything.
I don't think it was ever brought up.
Uh,
And her
Yeah, and then
hand
the other.
changed colors too. It was
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Well,
full on possessed.
they were making fun of her though. Like the idea, because they were making fun of her at the dinner table, which is what I thought was going on.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely were making fun of her, but
But it
um,
wasn't in connection
see,
to
I
the drawing.
I
It
thought you
wasn't in
were
connection
gonna.
to the drawing. It wasn't in connection to the drawing. I agree with that. But they were making fun of her over the monster in the cellar because the cellar starts moving at the end of it.
Animal. It's the
Yeah,
stupidest thing I ever heard.
yeah. Which is
Oh yeah, that's
why,
after the door opens.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
But they were talking about the cellar before it opened fully though
yeah.
because she had at least relayed that. But I do agree with you that it's weird she didn't mention she got possessed.
But it's definitely, I think, in the group dynamic of this, I think Cheryl's definitely kind of in the bottom rung. Not really the most
She
high
does
up
get
when it.
ignored a lot.
Yeah, the, she's the baby sister. She's just along because
Yeah, it
she has
feels
to
like
be
she was
funny.
dragged along. Like
Yeah,
she's the person in the friend group that they brought to make fun of specifically. I guess.
like
The trees,
no,
they're
I'm sure that.
alive.
Well, I'm sure. I damn it, I forgot his name in the show. Ash's dad.
Pablo. Oh, his dad.
Yeah, the
Pablo
dad.
Picasso, Jesus Christ.
Uh, anyway, yeah, his dad was like, "You got to bring Cheryl with you. If you're going anywhere." And how unfortunate that decision was.
Yeah, it is a little
Uh,
awkward that it's two couples and then Cheryl.
ah, they got it's you have to have 5 people to make like an hour and a half long horror movie because you got to pick them off one by one by one. Got to stretch it out. If it was 4, it would be done already. Okay, they'd be done after like 50 minutes. Uh, honestly, let's just anybody got anything, please. I'm gonna be kind of taking a back seat because I'm gonna take up too much of the scenery if I just go full bore. So I want to hear everybody else's first.
Okay, the beginning, the camera movement going through kind of like
The
the bog swamp.
the
Is
copywritten shaky cam.
Yeah, is that supposed to be the perspective of the Kandarian demon?
Yeah, that's demon vision.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I called it creature vision throughout my notes.
I like that.
I didn't because
Uh,
I didn't know what it was at the time when
it
that
is
happened. So I just assumed creature vision.
for future reference. If we cover Evil Dead 2 and 3, even it's called technically The Force. I know that's probably a slap in the face for a Star Wars fan as you are, writer, but
Was it when
Well, they can't butcher it any more than Disney has.
yeah,
they
So
called it the Force at the time of developing the movie in '79?
yeah,
Interesting. Okay. 2 years after Star Wars.
oh, The
You
Force.
know, the word force was around before Star Wars. Kind of crazy. The novel concept.
They don't. I think they can get away with it because they don't call it the Force in the movie. So as long as they just say it
Yeah.
for production's sake,
It also has
it's
nothing to do with the Star Wars Force.
no, it doesn't. But I'm just saying, like, just so they don't get the cross fertilization of oh, you ripped off George Lucas, which George Lucas ripped off Akira Kurosawa. Let's talk about that, okay?
and Joseph Campbell.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, he didn't rip off Kira Kurosawa because both him and Steven Spielberg had regular meetings with Kira Kurosawa. So they
Like,
actually they worked together and influenced each other a lot.
yeah, fair enough. So yeah, that is technically the Kandarian demon, I believe, which is unfortunately a plot hole because technically it doesn't happen until after they read the book, and there's already 2 instances of demonic
Yeah,
or
Yeah, so
forced
it's
stuff
already
the,
before.
around.
the, that is one of the problems I wrote down because I couldn't tell if like I thought the monster wasn't supposed to appear until the Latin reading was done or the old Welsh reading was done. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's a famously not very let's say concrete setup. Let's in a good way. Let's say it that that way.
Was it not the demon summoned by the person who did the recording?
That's the only thing that that's something that that's the kind of
That
the
was my
reasoning.
thought.
Yeah, that's
Why?
the reasoning brought up, but it and unsure if that holds much water. As the fans have not been able to pinpoint if that merits enough.
Well, the demon
As
didn't
me,
do
yeah,
anything to the group of five
true.
until
Yeah,
they started reading,
yeah, it's true.
It
which I
also
As
says that
guess provoked it.
the demons are always around, but they're dormant until the pages are read, giving them permission to possess. So that could just be it
I get it.
floating around being dormant.
Yeah, yeah. Just giving it a little credit. There, it is slightly inconsistency, but I think there's enough there where you could argue one way or the other. But yeah, it's a little plot hole.
Okay. And then I wrote down that
Gotta point them out like
they just
Mhm.
Scotty announced that they just crossed the Tennessee border, or Ash said it
mm-hmm.
looking at the map.
Yes, they did. Yeah,
Establishing
they
where we are.
we are in Tennessee, Morristown, Tennessee.
Hold on, I will be right back, gentlemen.
You got it. I don't. Well, I like the use of it when I do cinematography usage, but there is plenty of Dutch angles in this film.
Yeah,
I mean,
most of them
it's
are
a
kind of towards the end. Yeah,
horror film, which is the type of place where you'd see it used a lot. So
that is a
I don't have any
another-
issues with it.
yeah, that's another little fact. And I've seen a lot of Sam Raimi's student films and his little Super 8 home movie stuff. This is the first instance or one of the first instances of him using any Dutch angles, which is odd.
Interesting. I know before this film, I mean, then again, you said it started in '79, but at the
Yeah,
time of it coming out in '81, Halloween and The Shining would have been released. So I don't know if there was
yes.
any inspiration taken out of either one of those two.
Most so when they were producing this film or starting to they did a lot of drive-in movie research because those were where most horror movies played. So most of the inspiration comes from like Friday the 13th, Nightmare. No, I don't know. No, I don't think Nightmare on Elm Street had come out yet,
No,
but
I think The
Halloween
Exorcist
stuff.
may have been out.
Yeah, Exorcist, and actually that probably wouldn't have played at drive-throughs, but they did. There was a bunch of horror movies that inspired this, kind of the three big ones at the time. But I don't think probably The Shining had, yeah, because they were probably still filming when that came out.
Yeah, that was 1980 when that released.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know where
yeah,
anything was
yeah.
pulled from.
Yeah, it's I couldn't find any definitive stuff of Sam Raimi saying I saw this and I wanted to do that. The only thing I could find was some of his editing stuff for the montage towards the end, but I couldn't find anything for why he used Dutch angles or moving cameras so much.
Okay. Well, it certainly gave him a little staple to his career and
Yeah.
portfolio.
Hey.
Because this is for the pod the second Sam Raimi movie we're covering.
Yes, and
I
I think
believe
it's
so.
better than the previous one
This is
we did.
this is infinitely better.
Uh,
It's not a competition at all.
uh,
But
yeah, but
But Ryder,
yeah,
now that you've seen this, you can see some of
you can see
what.
the Raimi strain.
Yes.
the Raimi the start of the Raimi strain, at
Yeah.
least for me.
At least
There's
what we're
definitely
covering.
some stuff you can see in Doctor Strange
I
Yeah,
mean,
2.
if you can
Yeah.
recall, what you just say, Crimson?
Doctor Strange 2, you
Oh,
can
okay,
see
yeah.
some
I was gonna say
common camera work.
if you can recall Spider-Man 2, when they're trying to pry the arms off of Dr. Octavius, that is very much a Raimi scene.
yeah. Yeah, this is definitely it feels like it's weird. I'm watching like his stuff in reverse order, even though I grew up on the
Yes.
Raimi trilogy because I don't
Yeah.
remember, but I don't remember the Raimi trilogy all that much. I haven't rewatched that trilogy in maybe a decade or more. It's been a long time.
The first two are great. The third one is okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I remember.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. So like yeah, I could definitely see some beginnings of it. I don't think his like style has fully manifested yet. Um, but you could definitely see the creativity he's trying to inject with the limited budget and limited resources he has on hand,
Yeah.
which I think definitely gives it some of his artistic flair that I at least could pick up on. Because the creature vision thing, I don't know if that had been done regularly before, but for me, that stood out to me. Oh yeah, this is definitely Raimi, you know. And then obviously, I think the sudden random injection of like uh I was gonna say like character heart, I guess would be the
Hmm.
way to describe it. The because I the this is very much hands off. Like it doesn't really make you feel anything until it does, or like it wants you to. Because there are two scenes that jump out of my mind, and I don't know if they're in this act, but obviously there's um, playing with the eyes when it comes to Bruce Campbell giving a gift when he's pretending to
Yeah.
sleep. I read that as very Raimi, but I also read it as very like, oh, this is kind of cute and very very like uh, um, I guess I'm sure the word I'm looking for is
Hammy.
it's very hammy, but it's very human as well.
Oh,
Because
Yeah.
hammy. Let's add that to the list. Corny,
Yeah.
campy, cheesy. Hammy.
yeah,
Hammy.
it's very like I was gonna say very character driven and very human, like cutesy couple thing that I don't see normally done. But it struck to me as also very Raimi because what Raimi does, or I remember him doing so well in the other Spider-Man in the Raimi trilogy, is that he's very good at injecting like characters' feelings into the film. Um, which is why I don't like Doctor Strange 2 all that much because you can tell he didn't write it.
Yeah.
Because if he did write it, I think the movie would have been better off. Um, but yeah, so there's definitely I can definitely see the beginnings of I guess his style, which I guess was the point of why I was very excited to watch this.
I'll pop over to them yelling Scotty to turn the car. Ash has his head hanging out the window.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was
Yeah, I
weird.
read that.
Well, and
Oh,
then Shelly
and the
freaking
window
has
was
her yeah,
closed.
yeah.
The
And
window's
then Shelly
closed to
has her
shoot
like
shots. Yeah.
she has her best like 1960s like horror film like covering her face.
Oh yeah, the scream on her.
Yeah, it's I
Terrible.
mean, it's it's a good like face and everything. It just doesn't fit very well. If it was a different movie, it would probably work better, but it doesn't work. It doesn't fit very well.
It
But I
doesn't
love it all the
fit with
same.
the scene, but I think it fits with the tone of the whole film.
Yeah, it works.
It really gives you the, oh, that's from a horror movie.
You got to know that from the beginning that these people are going to be dismembered and victimized.
They're going to a cabin in
Part
the
of the
woods.
adventure.
Yes. The three rules of horror: the innocent must suffer,
I approve
the
of the
guilty
reference. I
must be
like this.
punished, and you must taste blood to be a man.
Did you? You I don't know why you made the reference to Spring, so I forgot. Was that your first time watching that movie with me?
Which one?
Cabin in the Woods.
Yes.
Okay.
Say it like that.
It was
Yes.
an experience.
I'm
What a
sorry.
movie.
We can cover that movie when we cover that movie.
Now
I'll get my thoughts on that movie.
we're talking
I'll,
about a different cabin in the woods
Yeah.
right now.
I'll just say it was an experience. We can leave it at that.
Yeah. Uh, I'll point out the tracking shot for when they were pulling up to the cabin. I wonder if anybody knows how that was done.
Following
Probably somebody
the
standing on top of a truck holding a camera.
You're close, Crimson. It was on top of a van, and they were laying down on it.
Ah,
Which honestly, it's amazing. It's as steady as it is.
That
That's
scene.
true. Did they strap them down?
I think so. Yeah, there's a
Oh,
good photo. I was gonna give Spring, so I was gonna give you some like set photos, but I wasn't sure if I'd be able to find the correct
could have used
format.
those.
I know I was gonna, but I couldn't figure out if I could find the correct format that would be able to put in of some of the set photos. But audience, if you look up, I think there's some look up Evil Dead or Book of the Dead's website or something. They have a bunch of on set photos which are great. But yeah, so a lot of practical stuff.
I'm a fan.
Can
of
afford a
practical
stabilizer.
things.
Yeah, there's a bunch more that I'll go through, but that's one of the first ones.
I
Don't have a steady cam. Use a board.
So that tracking shot of the car. That's the
Hmm.
you're talking about going tracking
Yeah, yeah.
down the road. I like that scene except for one detail.
I think I know what it is.
The camera following them interrupts with branches on the tree.
Yeah, yeah,
So you can tell that something is moving things in not the force perspective.
yeah. That's I caught that and I was like, I can't unsee that now. I can't unsee that now. But
Yeah.
the
If they
only
just
the only
went
problem I
back and
have with
just
it.
cut those branches, it would have
Yeah.
been fine.
What was that? The Force perspective? I never
No, but
really
I'm
No.
just
viewed it as the
saying,
Force
he's
perspective.
saying that it looks like because of how the camera moves, if it is that, it doesn't match up well.
No, I took it as
Yeah,
it's not the force perspective. It's not
yeah, it's
moving
not.
like it. It
Yeah,
doesn't kind of have that fisheye kind of wider look to it when moving. So I thought it was just a camera
yeah.
choice, but it does contact with branches on the tree,
The fact that it interacts with
the environment.
stuff makes it, with the environment is makes it appear that way. Even, but it's not. But yeah, it's a little bit of a snafu, if you will.
Nafu.
Snafu.
Also,
I didn't use it in the correct way.
going from Scotty having his window up to then yelling at the fisherman waving at him to then go back to him with the window up. He rolled down his window just to yell at them and then
Hey,
put it back up.
Yeah.
ah,
Yes, you did.
another little fact. I was hoping somebody would bring that up. The two fishermen are Sam Raimi and Robert Tappert,
Oh,
uncredited.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
Yes.
I guess I should ask for a fact, Sinister. Was Ted Raimi in any way connected to this film?
Yes, he is. I couldn't. So at the end of this movie, you'll notice that there's a credit for fake shimps, which the meaning for that is any scene where the actor is not available or is not used. It is somebody filling in, and they called it a fake shimp because they are big devotees of Three Stooges, and they would do that trick in the old cartoons when they had a shimp character, is have just somebody looking slightly like him from the back or whatever. So Ted Raimi, I think, was one of the most used ones, but there's about 20 or so in the movie overall.
20 different
Uh,
people as stand-ins?
yeah, 20 different people
Oh
as
wow.
stand-ins. Yeah, I didn't count them all, but it's like 15 to 20 little fake ship moments. Some of them definitely more than others. I'm sure anybody that just did a fake hand or whatever was a fake shimp, but yeah. So Ted Raimi was the most used, and probably because he could get abused the most.
Okay.
He was the stunt double.
Yeah, he was. Well, he's the little brother of Sam Raimi, so he'll do whatever he says. But yeah, so Ted Raimi is in this, and he is credited.
Cool. I was just curious on that.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go to when they get to the cabin, the bench is whacking the cabin until Scotty gets the keys and it stops.
Hmm.
Is that a demon made thump, or is that because of the wind? Because there's no other sign of the wind at all looking back at
That's
the other four or Scotty at the cabin.
that's the cool thing. You can read it as both, but I
Okay.
think it's supposed to be the demon.
That's what I lean
Yeah.
towards.
Yeah,
It's
I will lean towards that as well.
Okay.
So we have to judge this movie in isolation, but the the second one and the show, I think, definitely support that being the demon. I think they
um,
show enough to where It'd be
Another
reasonable
little
to assume.
fact: that swing was made for the film. It was not originally part of the cabin.
I think it gives a good tone, so it's not just silent.
Yeah, it's a. I
It's definitely
remember it.
ominous. Yeah.
I remember it not being as dragged out as it. Not saying it's dragged out, but I don't remember it being as long as it was. But I think it fits. It's a good little ominous tone.
Yeah. I love it when
And
I
the
roll up at a cabin with my friends, and
and
one just
you,
walks up to open the door, and everyone just awkwardly stands there saying nothing and staring at him.
dude. If I saw this cabin in real life, I'd run. I wouldn't go anywhere near it. Nothing good ever happens in a cabin in the woods.
I'd check it out
Yeah.
as long as I had
They
plenty of
weren't even
daylight.
mingling.
I would not stay the night, but I would definitely go inside. Then again, I have experience staying in haunted houses, so
But yeah, it's a good little
I fear
Yeah.
nothing. All is as the force wills it.
it's got a lot of camera movement in this, and I think that's one of the reasons it stands out. So I like that little shrinking of the group, and then the progressively closer shots of Scotty as he runs up. It's very very cool.
We got some good establishing moments with Scotty walking through the cabin.
Yeah.
He looks at the mirror, he looks at the clock, he walks through the shed, which has power. I put that down. Did he turn a generator on? Because I doubt this place has power.
Yeah,
We're gonna assume.
I'm fine with assuming the place has a portable generator that needs to be turned on. That's not a huge issue. I think it would just be neat detail to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't get that till Evil Dead 2.
I
Isn't
did
that a
appreciate all
generator?
of the setup.
Yeah, there's a good. I think they do a good job of kind of front loading a bunch of just establishing things, so they can just kind of once it gets going, they can just run with it. And I mean, it's a hour and a half long horror movie, so you really don't you don't need that much character development. But I think they don't make time for it, which is impressive.
Uh, I guess there's more of an overarching question.
Hmm.
Who's the real hero here? Is it Scotty or Ash?
Oh, it's Ash.
Uh, it's Ash, but
Scotty sucks.
100% is Ash.
well, I think Scotty. That's a kind of the cool thing about it is that Scotty becomes the guy you kind of root for, because he's actually the one doing stuff. But then his kind of foolhardiness.
See, the thing about Scotty is that he's an asshole for most of the film, where Bruce
Agreed.
Campbell is not. And
Yeah.
so Bruce Campbell's character is not. Bruce Campbell. I think one of the strengths of the film is like Bruce Campbell's arc, where he's kind of eventually forced to do things, because I don't know. Scotty jumped very quickly into killing like something he didn't understand, even though he was made the correct choice. That there was no remorse
Yeah.
over the fact that he did it. Whereas in the seconds before that, where Ash was holding the axe, you can sort of see like the range of emotions in the character before he, as he's trying to psych himself up, but ultimately he's just too scared to do it.
That's the thing. I mean, because Scotty, his actual Scotty by acting actually ends up killing him basically. Basically, so he's foolhardy, whereas Ash is sort of semi cowardice and kind of more apprehension. Really, end up saving him.
Mm-hmm.
No, I found Scotty as not someone to root for when the first two instances of him are yelling at strangers out of his car and then trying to pull a prank on Ash by not responding to anyone when he's in the cellar.
Yeah.
Then I went, this guy sucks. I am not rooting for him.
All right, okay, you can't get mad at him.
My
for the
question
prank
wasn't
takes
if he was a
pranks.
good person, it was whether he was the hero or Ash was the hero. Because
Yeah.
I kind of see Scotty more because he is the proactive one.
But again, the proactiveness is what gets him killed.
I'm not disagreeing with that. Heroes
Yeah,
can
yeah.
die.
I think it's a good setup of kind of building up that expectation, because if you watch a lot of other movies, yeah, it's like the person who's proactive and thinks logically is the one who's safe, and then they switch it off in this one, and like, oh, the guy who's actually the most afraid is the the one who survives.
Remind
I
me
don't know. I don't
when
really. I
when
never really
Cheryl
drew
and
that
Ash
line with
come
horror.
back, do they inform everyone the bridge is out?
They don't explicitly say it, but they evidently find out in like the next scene.
Yeah, I
So
think
like
it's not. Yeah,
there's no scene where a character directly informs them because they bring it up when we have the creature vision in the cellar watching the three of them in the room. Like Ash just put Linda asleep. Um,
Yeah.
they bring it up in that scene as if they know it, but they were never really informed by it. But I
Okay.
know that there's a time skip, so
yeah, I'm
they
sure
they could have been told, but the fact that we don't see them told is a bit of a problem in this situation.
I don't know because it seems like it would be obvious because they're all. I mean, with with the exception of Cheryl wants to leave, they would all be made aware of the fact that hey, the bridge we came in on is out. I I don't see it as much of a problem, but I will to each their own. I will admit I think it would be easy just a 5-second scene of them saying it. So I can't disagree.
Okay. I just think I don't know how that would affect Scotty running off on his own. Kind of
Well, he
scared.
knows the
Well,
bridge
Yeah,
is
he
out
at that
at
point,
that
yeah.
point he
Yeah.
does know.
yeah yeah.
Yeah. His reason for running off is to
He says there's a trail.
yeah, he wants to
Yeah,
find a
might
there
be a
trail.
might be
hiking
there might be a
trail or
trail.
alternate
Yeah,
path.
yeah. Which feel like if there's a bridge, there's no other way off. It would seem seem weird to have a bridge and then there's multiple ways through. But they'll give it to him.
I mean, I guess there is. He confirms it.
Well, yeah, he confirms it, but it's weird that there'd be a bridge and then
Second bridge.
well, I guess there could be a path. I'll concede there's a path, but if there was another road, that would be strange.
Yeah, you wouldn't need two roads to lead to a cabin in
There's
the middle of
yeah.
nowhere.
They're not on an island, are they? They're just in a thick forest.
It's just the implication
I
is
don't
that they
really
were
know
just
the geography of this spot.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm
they're
trying-
kind of in
yeah.
like a hollow, which is sort of like there's like hills and stuff or mountains kind of around them, but
Okay.
it's just like I think it's like except there's like a river probably going through it, so you can't really
Because I'm just thinking
traverse it.
the drive, like the car stops at the cabin. There's nowhere else to go from the cabin other than back to the bridge.
Yeah,
There's no other
it's
road.
it's fairly remote. Yeah. Probably I think they kind of establish in later films, which I can't really use because this is kind of standalone. It's a hunting cabin, hence why like it's so remote. Because they usually don't have a lot of civilization nearby for hunting cabins. It's because they scare away animals and stuff. So they don't do a good job of establishing that, so I can't really use that in this one. But that's usually how I read it.
Okay.
Yeah, the only, I guess, lore behind the cabin we get in this first one is that the person on the tape picked it because of its isolation
Yeah,
from civilization. That's pretty much it.
to do research. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything. Does anybody else have anything for this? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot, but just so I don't fog up the scenery.
let me scroll through my notes.
So I can just say real silly. Of course, the smoothie at the table is red in the
Well, yeah.
blender. Of course, it's
Yeah,
red.
that reminded me of our other blood horror that we watched. I don't remember the name of it.
Brain dead.
Brain
Yeah,
Dead.
Brain Dead. That
Yeah.
reminded me of Brain Dead.
Go to the
There
straight-
was a
straight
blender
to-
in that.
There was.
There
Yeah.
was indeed a scene with a blender in that. Yeah.
I mean, this movie was, inspired by Brain Dead, as anybody could obviously tell. It's
I think it's the other way around.
Yeah, 10 years, 11
Yeah,
years
just-
before. Yeah.
Sam Raimi in the future, and he was like, "Okay, this is the movie I want to make." Also, this movie is still banned in some countries.
That's unsurprising.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I wrote a couple jokes down for the Cheryl getting attacked in the forest
Okay, let's.
because I would write jokes. I would write jokes down for that.
I wrote one as well.
Uh,
That part of this I can write that.
It is this act, yeah.
It's
Okay.
it's a bit of both. It's gonna blend in.
Yeah.
This act
I'm just
ends when she gets back into the cabin.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'll call the cutoff.
yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, I really like a lot of the shots in the basement, and I think it is in this sequence. Crimson, you have a problem with the fact that Scotty aimed a gun at Ash's face, right?
Yeah, I wrote that down. It's like, this thing
Good.
probably still works, and aims it at Ash's face.
Good.
Another
It's
check mark
freaking-
to Scotty sucks.
Yeah, yeah. I just you
Listen,
know.
nobody's
I
arguing
never
if
said
Scotty
Scotty
sucks.
was good.
Yeah, nobody.
That's if he was the hero.
Yeah,
You can have
you can have
heroes
an
you don't
asshole
like.
here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
like,
just making sure. I'm just
diehard.
making sure we. I'm just making sure we kind of agreed on that one.
Yeah, no, it's
100%.
he's a bit of a what we'd call in the '70s. He's a bit of a dick.
yeah. Um.
Uh,
I
while
do
we're
like
down in-
the. Oh yeah, sorry. I like the recordings that they find.
Yeah, it's I feel like I'm a little foggy. I think these voiceovers for the recorder might sound better in this one than they do in the second one. I'm not sure.
um,
Unfortunately,
I
I
will
can't
say
that
help.
one's a little
I
bit more echoey, I think.
Yeah, it's more professional for sure. But I think this kind of it's because it's like a recorder. It fits better. It sounds kind of
It was
like
yeah. I sorry. You first.
No.
You finish up.
I think I preferred not having a. Although that the second one definitely has more of a reason to have a visual for who the fucking professor is, but I kind of prefer it in this one where it's not shown. It's just kind of an amorphous voice that is just playing. I think it fits better. So like that, there's like no like POV or there's no like flashback or anything. It's just like playing the recorder.
Yeah, I do like that it focuses more on the characters' faces and facial expressions, taking in the information, than, as you say, going to the actual professor or doctor. Or
Yeah. In the sequel, he's a professor. I don't know if he's considered it or if he calls himself a professor in this one or.
I didn't write down his
some
name.
archaeologist or something.
Ryder, did you have
Turn it off.
your jokes?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna get to that. There was one more, I guess, uncertainty I had. I couldn't decide if the buzzing effect was like overbearing in the scene in the forest because there was like a almost like a bee
The
buzzing
whooshing.
sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason that just was odd and out of place to me. I understand that it's for the horror effect. It just didn't strike me well.
I thought it worked personally.
I don't know if
Uh,
I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I'm
Yeah.
just getting other inputs for that because it just I don't know. It was odd to me.
It was probably. I mean, it was probably just like whatever they could do for the time, or like something that would fit, and it was just like, okay, that sounds kind of like that would be kind of creepy if it's just like a buzz or something. But I can see your point of it is it's a little much for my taste as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. My jokes. The first one. As soon as all the vines started wrapping around her, I immediately went to my classic joke of "I've seen enough hentai to know where this is going."
And it went there.
And it went there. And then my other one, which was thanking Sam Raimi for all the bare leg shots. It's a man of culture he is as she's running through the woods.
At least he didn't show the feet like Tarantino.
No, he's not. He's not a big feet guy.
What do you think was the reason for this thing?
You can't get away.
I know the 2013 remake actually gives a reason for this.
Yeah.
I don't remember if the second movie talks about the reason, and obviously can't be referenced in this. But.
Yeah. Okay, so there's an interview with Sam Raimi that I watched, or there's two, where they bring up this scene because this is kind of the
why.
this is the black mark kind of on this movie, the one sort of thing, because even at the time this was seen as distasteful, which makes sense. That's kind of the least. Yeah, I'm not gonna go into specifics here. You know the scene we're talking
Get what
about.
you're saying.
I'm not gonna.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, and which I didn't realize that they kept it in for the 2013 one because in interviews with Sam Raimi, he expressed a distaste for it and kind of wished he didn't put it in the film. And that's why it's sort of absent from Evil Dead 2 and some mostly, there's still the tree stuff, but there's no
Yeah, there's some truth.
yeah, there's not a sexual air to them at least.
No, there's no.
Yeah.
As I wrote down, look, Swamp Thing's been a bit lonely.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, it was just because for the sake of, you know, gross out or, squirminess, which at the time there's a couple of, and your slasher or your more like grindcore kind of horror stuff from the era, you would find stuff like that from the really just twisted ones. So it was probably just a way to get that in and, really freak out some horror fans, but fortunately, it's not aged very well, and probably didn't age very well at the time.
Sinister.
Yes.
This actually might bring up a question. Is this being made in 1981 or debuting in 1981?
Yeah.
Was this the first horror film, I guess characterized around like teenagers,
Yeah.
to feature a sex scene?
I don't
Because it's
believe
kind of big in
so.
Friday 13th. It's in Halloween, but that was 79. What else you got there? Nightmare on Elm Street, I think.
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. That's a little bit later. No, it's a kind of so. There is a trend going into the '90s from like the '70s to '90s of a sex comedy where show a little skin and it's funny and it's usually
Well, it's
you're
a
not gonna have like
trope. You got
yeah, it's a
the
trope.
character who's the virgin situation.
Yeah. There's a as far as for what the trope itself of like the horny teens or whatever they and stuff. I don't think this started it. It's definitely a retelling, rehashing of it. But I off the top of my head, I can't say what kind of started. I would say probably just like I think Halloween is probably the earliest one that kind of had that trope that I can remember.
Okay. I just didn't know if you
But
had that as an additional fact written down.
no, I as far as I'm aware, this is not the progenitor of that trope, but it does fit within it. Um, Another since we're talking about horror films and references and things, and the basement, if you'll notice in the basement there's a ripped poster of The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah. I
That was
noticed it above the table.
that was a deliberate reference by Sam Raimi, because at the time The Hills Have Eyes was kind of like the real like horror movie because it was like so sick and twisted, and that was Sam Raimi's way of saying by tearing the poster to say no, my movie is the real horror movie, which led to Wes Craven putting in, I believe it's Nightmare on Elm Street, a ripped poster of Evil Dead saying that no, Nightmare on Elm Street is the real horror movie.
That's funny.
That's
Yeah.
kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then they
little
got
pullback.
Stranger Things season 1 with the Evil Dead poster on the wall with the
Yeah.
dad saying, "Take it off the
He
wall."
did.
What does
It's
that mean?
inappropriate. I think it's interesting then that the doctor or the archaeologist who
Yeah.
got this hunting cabin just has a poster of the Hills Have Eyes. He's a big
Well, he
fan.
Interesting
rented it.
little character thing for him there.
Maybe it was research.
He's a movie guy.
Jesus. Excuse me. Sorry.
Something
Well,
I'll
he
touch.
rented the cabin, so maybe it was whoever owned the cabin had it on there.
Yeah, who the heck
Could be.
rented it?
Do you know when that film came out? Hills Have Eyes?
1977.
77. Okay, so in the
Could
span.
have been.
Well, if this film is taking place in, that's actually a good question. Do you know what year the film takes place?
I can answer that question, but you're probably not going to like my answer. Sam Raimi specifically costumed and set up the movie so that you could never really tell what era it was supposed to be set in. Unfortunately, by aging, you could pretty much tell it's the 70s.
Okay, if it's the 70s, latest being 79 itself, then that's a
Yeah.
2-year span.
Yeah.
Okay. Just trying to get the
So
times. Something I'll
it's
point
left
out
purposely vague.
a little is the music when the cellar door just opens on its own, which should just be a giveaway to everyone else that something's up, but no one really cares.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't hear the
Hey guys,
Yeah,
we
music.
should
nobody
leave.
hears. Unfortunately,
No?
nobody hears the music playing.
That's what I want to touch on is the music. It's a little dated. It sounds a bit dated, but it gives off to me a good tone of eeriness and what I wrote down, eeriness and sadness.
Yeah. That's why it was ripped off by Danny Elfman for Beetlejuice.
Was it?
I mean, I have to rewatch Beetlejuice, but I every time I hear it, I'm like, it sounds like when they go to like the afterlife or like the DMV for the dead or whatever. It's kind of similar. I don't think it's meant to, obviously, because it came out like years later. But
Interesting. Now I got to compare the two. Well, I think
yeah,
Beetlejuice was 85, maybe a little
85.
later.
But it
88.
might just be they're just using the same kind of synth or sound effect kind of thing. But I'm like, it just sounds a lot like it.
Okay, Beetlejuice was 88. So
So a
7
couple
years
years,
later.
it'd be a little weird if they were using the same equipment. Some
Oh, they could.
yeah,
But
they could have, but I feel like they had a bigger budget.
now I got to compare the two. Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah. So, and the music was done by Joseph LaDuca, I believe, who was a local Detroitian.
Oh,
And
was
I
this
think he
his
did the music
debut?
for this. Yeah, this was, I think, his first official actual production. I think he'd done some commercials maybe before, but this was like the first movie I believe he did. And I think he did a good job. And then, Danny Elfman also took. That's the other thing. Danny Elfman worked with Sam Raimi on a bunch of projects.
Yes.
But yeah. So,
I'll bring up some stuff I liked, particularly the props. I'll save the special effects and makeup for when that's more relevant. I really like how the dagger looks, and I think the book looks okay. Could be better. They
the
definitely make it
book
better
is
later.
not
I
great.
don't remember the
is not
book
great.
looking so small.
Well, every single time that book shows up in something, it looks different. The show, the other movies, it always looks different.
I'm happy it doesn't look like how it looks in this first movie. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm
This
happy they
looks
didn't
like
use the same book.
a small notebook, and it's very tan.
Yes. And I have a fun
It's a
fact for that. If you
tan skinned person.
Yeah, I have a fun fact for that. If you want to hear it?
Sure.
Sure.
Do you want to hear it?
The pigskin.
No. So that the makeup and special effects guy Tom Sullivan, he had to rush a lot of the makeup work, which pretty impressive for how good it looks throughout. I think most of the rest of the movie. But the original rushes he had for the face kind of wounds and face masks and stuff. The original he made were too small, so he reused one of them for the Book of the Dead. So that's either I think Scotty's or Shelley's original face mask.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Did not know that.
yeah. Yeah. So that's
efficient.
that's hey, instead of throwing it away, he reused it.
Efficiency at its finest.
And originally in the script, it was supposed to be like an animal skin, and he actually was the one who was like, "No, I think it would be creepier if it was human skin," because of he read about the Nazi war crimes where they human skin lamps and stuff. So he thought that would be a little bit scarier than animal skin.
I think it comes across
agree.
scarier. Yeah.
Hmm.
At the 13:45-second mark,
Oh boy, let me.
Does Bruce Campbell look directly in the camera when he's looking for Scotty in the basement? It's right before he goes up to the door to open it.
It's a possibility. Hold on, 13.
I think he's
Are you
at the
talking about that
base.
360 view thing?
No.
when it pans a 360
No, like when he's
goes
looking
over
at
him?
the pipes and stuff.
Yeah. The leaky
No,
pipes. And then
it's
I can't tell if
like
he's looking past the camera or if he's looking like right at it's like so close.
he's looking past the camera, but there's like there's a split second. I can see what you mean. There's a split second where he's sort of looking at the camera, but he immediately like gets his like the periphery set. But like I will admit, there's a split second where he's definitely looking at the camera.
Okay. Also, the odd use of slow-mo on the door shot.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
I don't understand some of the use of
and it's the
slow-mo
bad
in the film.
slow-mo.
Yeah, it's a.
There's slow-mo and sped-up parts throughout this film.
I do have a thing for that. So, when they were doing Within the Woods, the proto version of this, they manipulated the film stock speeds. So I believe most of the film was set at 18 frames per second, and then the Bruce Campbell stuff where he was the monster, because he was the monster in the Within the Woods version. They filmed him at 24 to give him a kind of a more unnatural speed, which I couldn't figure out kind of which scenes they did in this one, but it's kind of like if you're a film stock buff, you can probably tell really quickly what that stuff. I'm not that well versed in it, but that's kind of why there's a little bit difference of speeds and stuff throughout the film. Not so much that they did slow mo,
And everyone
but
was
they
praising Into the Spider-Verse for playing with frame rates. People
Yeah.
did.
Evil Dead Within the Woods, a Super 8 film didn't. It is a trick that you can do in with film, which is a pretty impressive thing. But I think you can probably do it with digital manipulation now as well. So, wah, wah. Yeah. So that's just for anybody wondering. That's a thing in this movie.
I would very much call Into the Spider-Verse a digital manipulation.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sure it was. Yeah. Um, and also with the Kandarian dagger that is made out of chicken bones.
Oh,
Makes
I
sense.
guess
And
it makes sense for the size.
That's
yeah,
neat.
chicken bones and foil. So you let that be a lesson. You don't have to actually cast a Kandarian dagger blade to have a Kandarian dagger blade in your thing. Okay, you
It
can
was fake. Oh,
it was yeah. Um, and Tom Sullivan also did all of the drawings and writings inside of the Book of the Dead.
Even the Doodle Bob.
Even the Doodle Bob.
the Doodle Bob drawing that Cheryl drew. You mean?
No, not
Or-
that. He did not do that one. No, that was
I think that was
Every time I
Cheryl.
see that, though, I just think Doodle Bob. It's
yeah. No, he didn't do
Can't-
that. But
stop seeing that.
but inside of the actual book, he those are all his. I believe most of them are his.
Okay.
Because he wanted to fill it out so you could actually flip through it and it would have stuff in there.
Sinister, do you have any effect on the how they made the lightning? That might be some of the worst lightning I've ever seen in a movie.
I do not, unfortunately.
I would.
Okay. I couldn't tell if that was a use of claymation.
It probably
I
was. I'm sure it was
think
a
it's layers.
yeah, it's a layered. Yeah, if I could say which is the cheapest way you can do that.
It's like a lightning cutout stencil.
Yeah,
And they backlight it to get the effect.
I
think
like
that's
how it
they
looks.
did it.
I like how it looks. My problem with it is that it's way too fucking close.
Yeah, it's huge. It's thick. It looks
It-
like udon
it's-
noodles.
Yeah, it looked better, but I'm sure they couldn't get as far back as they wanted to with it, so it had to be.
I don't remember this scene at all. I'm like drawing a complete
It's
It's
blank
like
on this
right
lightning.
after the
Yeah,
Blink and you'll miss it
yeah.
transition
Yeah.
piece.
It's when
Yeah.
they're going from the cellar back up to listen to the tapes. It's the transition kind of
Yeah.
usage.
Okay, so when Bruce Campbell's has the headphones in this time.
Yeah. No.
No. This is when they're all sitting around listening to it.
Yeah. Right after
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Right before Cheryl says, turn it off, and screams and a branch comes through the window.
Yeah, another instance of with the another instance of Cheryl or not Cheryl, sorry, Scotty being a dick by only taking one thing up and leaving Bruce to get the rest of it.
That's true.
I'll take the tape recorder, you get everything else.
Well, then Ash gets back and I'm saying that he found the tape upstairs, but it was Scotty who found the tape. I think that was just a continuity problem.
Yeah, just a. Yeah, honestly, I having seen this a couple times, I'm amazed that there's not more continuity problems in there. How small the cast was, or how small the crew was, and everything.
Mr. Raimi
True.
kept it pretty tight.
Well, it probably helps that they were, filming while they were, well, like writing it as they were filming it. So, anybody
Yeah.
else have anything? Because I might have a few things, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I have a question which I'm pretty sure there's no answer to, but I'll pose it. Uh, why and like what? How does the demon choose the people? Like Cheryl was first, and it seemed hyper focused on Cheryl.
I
So
think
I
Cheryl was
believe,
just a loner. That's why.
well, yeah, I think Cheryl was
That's
a
what I would
loner,
guess.
and they kind of hint, not. I kind of wish it was a little bit more obvious, but I feel like they hint that she has some sort of, spiritual connection, or like some, called psychic or whatever. So she's a little bit more vulnerable or susceptible to knowing something's going on, and so they kind of use the demon or whatever uses that to kind of begin the attack on the unsuspecting
Perhaps
teenagers.
that would help
But
with the line she said in the woods
yeah,
when she said, "I heard you in the cellar," and she was never in the cellar, and we never
yeah.
see her hear anything in the cellar.
Well, I think she meant that she heard whatever from coming from the cellar. I don't think she was actually in the cellar. But again,
I had it written
con-
down. She just said,
continuity error.
"I heard you in the cellar."
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, it's another continuity error that I.
Hmm.
But so they got that. I'm sure it's just like she's kind of the loner, so it kind of you start with that and then you work on other couples and
Yeah.
thematic
Yeah.
wise. Okay.
That was the reason that I thought it went after her first, is because she was just by herself. But there was a point of like I have no idea why it didn't possess the boys at any point. Well, I
That's
mean,
probably
actually, it did possess Scotty once he was dead, but like
Yeah.
it was a little weird. Like
Yeah.
it could have possessed Ash at any point to,
The
I don't know, screw him over.
Again, the rules of possession not clear at all. I will not defend them whatsoever. There's only
Yeah,
a slight bit of logic behind any of them.
they
Uh,
never define it in anything. The
no,
show,
which
the movies,
I,
nothing.
I'm a you should rather it should always be consistently inconsistent instead of inconsistently consistent. That's the much better way to go with it.
That's probably one of my biggest gripes with the franchise is it just seems willy nilly who gets possessed constantly. Like if they can possess anyone, why not pick the threat? Which in this case, I'm more thinking of the
We do
show.
at least we
Why
do get a
not
little
possess the main
answer.
cast easy?
We do get
Something
a
like
little
that.
answer in Ash versus Evil Dead why Ash is not susceptible, but that also gets retconned because in 2 it's a different thing. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
hey,
that was
they
a
do.
question I had for this one: is what keeps Ash immune from being possessed?
The
And the
the
only thing I
simplest
could
thing is that
think
he's
of,
not dying.
okay, only thing I could think of was that the demon feeds off of fear,
Well,
and
he's very afraid.
yeah, and because of his cowardice, it's a way to feed off of him.
They He's the only one they can torment because everybody else they can't really torment. They just like they like his faces.
They-
that would work within the context of this
Yeah.
film, but I don't imagine that holds up in the show or anything.
No, not really. I mean, they do like tormenting him. I think that is kind of like just the
that's
closest
something
thing
the
to
Deadites
like a,
like to do, which
yeah,
they don't
they
really
really
call them in this,
No,
yeah,
I don't.
they don't
They
think
never
it's
given a name in this.
but it's
no.
demon.
They're just
Right.
referred to as Canarian demons, or
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
just they haven't established the lore yet because this is only going to be the only one.
Yeah, because
Uh,
it's not even necessarily possession of people that are dead or dying. Because Linda just got stabbed in the leg, and we didn't see a profuse amount of blood
she
while
got
she was
infected.
bleeding
Though.
out.
Infected with a
She got
pencil.
infected by the possession.
Yeah, the
She
possession.
didn't get it. So, because Ash got his leg like scratched up viciously.
Yeah. Uh, I'm torn between if I like him going crazy in this more or less than the second one. I think I like the second one more, but I have to A and B it.
For me, it's clearly the second one.
Well, yeah, because you like the
My agreement.
yeah, like the
I think one's better.
He's
But I
far
feel
more
like it.
crazy in that one, or he
It's
far more loses his sanity in the second one.
yeah. He goes more Nicolas Cage in the second one, but I'm trying to see if how like how organic that would be given the situation.
Yeah,
I
this
feel
one
like
plays
this one,
off.
yeah,
They're both very different tonally.
They are. This
yeah.
one
They
plays
both
off
fit
very
where
more
they are.
to the relationship connection to Linda.
I think this
Linda.
one feels a little bit realer. Um, obviously, I think the second one's more hyper real, but uh, you know, I think this one thematically works a little bit better because it's kind of what they're going for is to establish, how they're tormenting him and everything, which is
Yeah, this one's definitely
um,
more decrease over time.
yeah. Uh, this is also a little sideline. Uh, this was kind of a novelty in the horror film community, in that the guy is the final girl.
Yeah,
I
That
guess
was
so, yeah.
that was not really. I tried to do some research and I really couldn't find kind of some other examples, but the closest one being Night of the Living Dead with but that doesn't he doesn't uh, spoiler, he doesn't really survive that, so I can't really count that. But that's like the
Does
closest
Ash
thing.
survive this one in the
In this one,
context of this being by itself?
that's a good question. Well,
well, we don't see we don't see a corpse, so
was it
no.
covered
I mean,
by Bruce Campbell in an interview at a point that the first one ends at a certain starting point of the second film? Not the start of the second film, but there's a point where he's like, going through trees. Was that a
um,
It
link?
continues from
if
there.
okay, another side. So the only reason they couldn't use the footage from this movie because they didn't have technically the distribution rights for it, because they went with so Evil Dead's a different company. It's Laurent. I think it's Dino De Laurentiis Productions who also did King Kong. So they couldn't secure the rights to use that, unfortunately. But so technically, if they could have, they would have used it for the second one. So semantics, it would have continued, but they couldn't. So they didn't use it, so technically not. But
Okay,
they would have if they could have.
Him
so
flying through the trees is a
before
continuation.
okay,
Yes.
so before they even thought of Evil Dead 2, when this one finished, he's dead.
That's
Yes,
Evil
this
Dead
was
2 came around,
yeah,
retconned around.
uh, yeah. There was never an intention at the beginning to do a second one. Um, there's reasons before that don't really anything to do with the franchise at all that I won't really go into. But yeah. So technically, he's still the final girl because he's still alive by the end of it because we don't see him dead and decapitated. We can assume he's dead or whatever, but no corpse. Like it still fits, unfortunately.
Okay.
Or fortunately, it still fits. So he's the final girl, basically.
We touched on
Hence
Very
why his
weird way
name.
to define it.
Yeah.
yeah, we
Well,
touched on
yeah.
the lovey-dovey eyeball scene, which is nice that it actually has a payoff later. I did like that. But the Kandarian demon outside is a peeping Tom.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
yeah. I don't remember. I don't remember you could see Shelley's tits when I remember watching this. I don't remember that.
But you've seen it a dozen times.
Included how I think this is a masterpiece of cinema. I didn't see the nudie bits. Okay. That wasn't what I was
Yeah,
interested
Sinister
in as a
was
young
looking
man
at
watching
the
this.
art form,
Yeah.
financially and artistically.
I didn't
Oh.
need the breast to watch this movie.
I do like, even though I don't think it was necessary to be added, they handled it decent. It's not like it was a focus point. It was just there, I guess.
Yeah. It was like, oh, that's like, yeah, they're gonna, do what teenagers do when they're in a cabin in the woods, probably. Hey,
Change into pajamas and get to bed.
hey, if you were in a horror film in the 70s, there was almost certainly some form of nudity or sexiness. So
Yeah, not to go down a tangent, just a question. What's that horror film of the? I want to say it's called like 13 Cameras or something. Like someone rents a house, but there's cameras throughout every room.
I
Not familiar.
not
Okay.
familiar, unfortunately.
Cabin in the Woods.
We did that in that was a movie night movie, wasn't it? I don't remember finishing it though.
I don't remember watching anything with that.
I don't.
I do
I don't
I know
think I've
exactly
fully
what you're
seen it,
talking about.
but
I know
Okay,
exactly what you're
13
talking about.
Cameras,
but
2015, when that came out.
Hidden Cameras. That's what it's called.
13 Cameras
13 Cameras.
came out in 2015. If that's the
there's
one
actually
that,
there's actually a couple movies that do the same thing.
Okay.
I'm just remembering a specific one where some like
Like they're hiding
tech
behind two-way
guy.
mirrors and like bathroom little holes or something like that. Can't remember. It would just remind me of that, just like peering in at people in their rooms.
yeah, I mean, it's a, he's a demon after all. It's not a,
Yeah,
it's not going to be polite.
I guess it says in my notes that that I do have a complaint why Ash didn't correct Scotty about the bridge being destroyed. Is there is a kind of a meeting after they put Linda to sleep, um, and Scotty suggests they leave in the morning by the bridge.
Yep.
And Ash didn't correct him, so I wrote that down as a problem.
Yeah, that
'Cause
would
Ash,
mean he didn't tell everybody.
yeah, Ash was in the room for that. So
He did. He went
yeah.
to go sit down on the couch.
Thus begins
But,
another black mark against this perfect movie.
Yeah, also-
Da-da-da-da-da.
Also, say Cheryl's a bit dumb for not telling anyone she's going outside.
Yeah, that also bothered
Yeah.
me. But I mean, to be fair, like the screaming should have attracted somebody's attention. It's a fucking quiet cabin.
especially when he was
took-
banging on the door and
It
it
took
took Ash 10
so
minutes.
long. But then again, anytime there's a commotion, no one goes running to the scene.
No.
Everyone's so cautious to just gingerly walk there.
I mean, the one time this is acceptable is probably when Cheryl's floating and demonically laughing and saying she's going to kill them all. Because Scotty doesn't just run back into the room, but I would, to be fair, I would not be in a rush to run back into that room at that point either.
Because I mean, even when Shelly got killed, I guess,
Yeah.
with the glass breaking, Scotty's just sitting there playing with the axe or gun or something. I don't remember which, and just slowly gets up to go check on her.
Yep.
And Ash is
And
just
then
sitting on the couch.
Right next to the door, we get a nice POV shot of him walking past Ash.
Hey, they had a hard shoot. Okay, they didn't all have the energy to like jump off a couch. Come on, man.
So exhausted. 6
Oh.
weeks.
They also don't
Plus
even
the
call
tour.
out. They don't go, "You
Plus the
okay?
tour.
Everything all right?"
But
Well,
it's funny.
Are you possessed or dead?
It's funny. My next note after the complaining about why Ash didn't correct them about the
The bridge.
broken bridge is them splitting up. And when Scotty is searching, I put down, "Not gonna help him, Ash. No wonder all of you died."
he's got to stay with his girlfriend. He gave her a necklace.
An ugly necklace.
It's a really shitty necklace.
Looks like a monocle.
Yeah,
It's like something
I
you
don't.
get from those crane games where there's fake jewelry.
Maybe that's where he
Ash
got it.
gets,
Yeah.
yeah. Ash gets thrown off a lot in this film.
Oh, just
But
you
I
mean
found
backhanded
Lots
into
of
bookshelves?
bookshelves.
Yeah, there's a lot of bookshelf breaking.
Ugh. That's another little thing. The cabin had like no furniture, so all this is from like furniture stores and like antique shops. All the furniture in the movie, with a few things made by the carpenter whose name I couldn't find, who also made the front porch swing.
Sinister, were they designed to be breakaway?
I would imagine.
I would hope so.
So
Either
would
that
I.
or they.
If Bruce is just being launched against a full bookshelf.
Oh, Bruce
It wouldn't
Campbell.
break like that if they were.
Bruce
actual
Campbell could
shelves.
handle it, even if it wasn't.
Are we officially in Act 2?
We are. If nobody has anything else for the Shelley gets attacked act.
I have nothing
I was
but
bringing
one
up stuff in
question.
Act 2, so
All right.
I have nothing but one question actually for Sinister. Sinister,
Okay.
did you have anything to go over the Delta 88?
With the exception of probably some student in Super 8 films. Uh, uh, Delta 88 has been in pretty much every single film Sam Raimi has done. The only one I could find definitively that it wasn't in was The Quick and the Dead, but that's a
Yeah.
western, so it really wouldn't have really wouldn't have fit.
You know what, Sinister? Thinking back on that film, I agree. I don't think it's in there.
Yeah. But yeah, it's in Spider-Man. It's in
Floating around in Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Floating around in Doctor Strange. It's
Oh, the
in Evil
car.
Dead
The
2.
car,
Yeah,
yes, the
yeah,
Delta
there's a
88
whole
car.
Delta 88, which is in this movie. I can't say for sure if it's the same one in the other ones, but in this movie, it's Sam Raimi's actual car. I don't know if he used the exact same one in the previous movies. I would hope not, because it gets destroyed in one.
It's not the car that
Well, I
gets
know for
launched at Peter Parker in the cafe, right?
I haven't seen that one in
Okay,
a
I don't think
while.
it is.
I'd have
I
to
don't remember
rewatch
that.
that. But yeah, that's a Sam Raimi's actual car, and it's got a cult following of its own. It's actually an actor in this movie.
Much
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
Gotham City's a character on its own, sure.
Yeah.
Acted Linda under the table.
Ba-da-ba-ba-dow.
It's not gonna let us leave. Joke's on you. I'm going to turn on.
I just wanted to point that
Uh,
out, Sinister, because you were going over
Yeah.
history and facts and everything. So
Yeah, that's an important thing. It's another Raimi trademark.
Yep.
With Dutch angles, moving POV, and the Delta 88. All right, Act 1 is done. Going into Act 2, which is Cheryl is attacked to Ash takes out Linda.
And Ash takes out Linda refers to being dragged out of the cabin.
Being dragged out of the cabin, and I'll give it some when he technically has a fight with her. That we'll give it that area, because that's a little bit more closer of a cutoff, but it's a definitive kind of area to quit from. 'Cause that kind of
her head
last scene
gets
is
chopped.
all right. This time I'm going to start with Crimson.
This time again. Oh no.
Oh no, sorry.
All right.
I'll start with Ryder then.
All right. I kind of already brought up a couple things in this act already. Let's see. Um. Yeah, I don't got anything off the top of my head. Hold on.
Okay, never. All right. I'll
Okay.
start off with a thing then, and we can build up to it. The bridge that is destroyed.
Used
That
in a
Yeah.
Modern Warfare Halloween horror map, I believe.
Yes, it was. That is not a model. They actually destroyed a bridge.
Oh, good for them. I guess.
Unfortunately, how they shot it, it doesn't really capture it because it's so dark and they didn't light it very well. So it looks like it may as well be a model.
It's
But
a pretty
that,
iconic image of the like
yes,
curled finger looking metal on the bridge.
yeah, that was
Yeah, I was gonna
several
say, I
hours.
like that.
Yeah, that was several hours of work, and it's all real.
Yeah, it really makes it seem more supernatural than just the bridge broke.
Hmm.
The whole curl of it.
Yeah,
Because they bring that back for the second one as well.
yeah, that one is a model though. That one,
Yeah, that one's
that
a
one,
lot more apparent.
yeah. But
Looking up just for clarification, it's Call of Duty Ghosts DLC map Fog.
yep.
Was that one of the alien levels?
No, it was just a multiplayer map. But you
Oh.
could find Easter eggs to a bunch of stuff, and I believe there was a perk where you could turn into Michael Myers or Jason. I think it's Jason, but I can't recall. When Cheryl gets brought into the house and the demon backs away, why is the demon backing away?
And it just goes with the inconsistency of the demon.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if the cabin's a safe house or if the demon's like afraid of people in numbers. Like it needs someone like on their own.
I mean, it broke into the cabin to kill Cheryl. So it's not worried about breaking into the cabin.
Okay. But when it did that, Cheryl
Uh,
was alone.
Yeah, I don't know why it would fear
Well, no.
others.
That was Shelley. Cheryl was
Yeah,
trapped in
Shelley.
the cellar.
Yeah,
Did I say
Cheryl's in
Cheryl?
the it's Cheryl.
Yeah, actually. I don't know why they made them so similar in names.
Well, here's the difference. That Cheryl has a CH instead of an SH.
Yeah, I wrote that in my notes incorrectly.
I it's okay. I had to when I was checking for stuff. I had to. I was like, it's kind of stupid that
Is
Shelley
it?
and Cheryl, and
I
then
don't know.
I
I
was like,
just realized this might be sad. I found Cheryl in Riverdale more compelling.
Well, that's a completely different character.
Yeah, this is true. Just thinking about it.
yeah. I mean, with a few specific moments, I think the only character in this that I really have any kind of feel for or enjoy is Bruce Campbell's. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's not in this act. I'll wait until the. Well, no, actually, that is in this act. I really liked Scotty pleading that he doesn't want to die.
I don't want to die, eh?
It's one of those things that I didn't expect to, I guess, make me feel
I
something. So
Scotty's
this
human.
is this is
Scotty is indeed
yeah.
human. Yeah.
Every time I watch this, I catch a new like wound that he had on him when he came back from the forest. I always
Bone sticking out of his forearm.
yeah, I always forget how much they just I mean
They
roughed
fucked
him
him up.
up. Yeah. And then I thought it was I was like, is that a fucking rib sticking out? And then I realized it was a stick. I always forget that.
Well, I don't think I've
I
seen that stick.
I noticed a scene that I think takes homage from another movie, which is when they're leaving the cabin. Cheryl and Ash are leaving to the car, and they exit from the cabin door, and the only light is coming from pretty much a spotlight from the inside of the house. And then
Yeah.
Shelly, Scotty, and not Cheryl, Linda are standing in the doorway as well. It felt very much like a scene from like an alien movie when the alien comes out of a ship and they got like that backlight silhouette on them. And to me, because of the time era of being started in '79, and these are still the cast, so as you said, the first 6 weeks of shooting, I think it could be taken from Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah, I can see
Strip
that.
I think is '78 is when that came out.
Yeah, that's a Donald Sutherland movie.
Uh, yeah. Sure, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any
it's
facts
I
behind
was like,
that.
I know a lot of this is filmed on the go, not planned, and I shot like that. I don't know. I did have that written down. The the backlit, three of them. I liked how that looked.
Yeah,
Also,
it's good.
is the car not starting caused by the demon, or is just a faulty car?
Well,
Again,
he
it's
just
like
had that
something
checked up. Had it tuned
just
up
had
recently.
tuned up.
We gotta take it
Uh,
back.
I think it's just the demon fucking with them.
Okay.
I would like Crimson to redub all of Scotty's lines. Take it back.
Yeah, I think it was just demon fucking with them, and
Yeah.
legitimately the demon could also be fucking with them because it realizes it needed to destroy the bridge, so it was just toying with them to buy itself time to destroy the bridge.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's left I think intentionally vague, so you can read it either way. Of like,
Yeah, it's
if
definitely
it,
vague,
yeah,
but
Because it does allow the
um,
car to start.
yeah,
yeah,
but
it
it
can be
doesn't.
read
Yeah,
either
but it
way.
doesn't
I'm
matter
just
because the
Yeah.
like
Okay.
the reason I think because the demon is clearly trying to toy with all of them. The reason I think it intentionally stalls the car because one, it could fuck with them, but also it realized, oh, I can just fuck with them more by letting them drive and seeing the destroyed bridge.
your feast on
It comes
despair.
it comes across as the demon wants to fuck with them. It's one of the pretty much the only justification for not taking out Ash.
And in Cheryl's situation, the demon wants to finish that.
Uh,
Well, the demon already
okay.
did that.
Gotta put another cup in. Come on. Ow.
I'll go to Cheryl getting out of the car, and also Ash not responding. So another jerk friend thing to do, or brother thing to do.
Yeah.
When she gets out of the car, it's angled so you can see like the moonlight, which is pretty much just a spotlight on her. And then it goes to the front of the car, which is also a very weird angle. I don't know exactly how it works. But the front of the car and the moonlight is not reflective off of the car whatsoever.
Mhm.
There's a
So
little. There's a little
it
bit.
disappeared.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, after that where I have no idea why Ash just leaves the car and doesn't say anything. He just leaves creepily and
For
disappears.
yeah,
It's
for
for
effect.
dramatic. It's for dramatic effect, and then he just reappears in frame because obviously if they're not in frame, they don't exist. But um, I just thought that was kind of annoying considering he would be very familiar now with her mental state.
Well,
Unless
you know,
he's
yeah.
going with
Found
her,
that pretty
which is just
pretty lazy.
Yeah, it's definitely on the lazy side.
But the shot I couldn't quite understand was it's a straight angle of the car, yet Cheryl is so bent over walking forward.
I can't picture this.
Yeah, I'm having.
Like
There
the
was no
car,
weird camera thing that popped out to me.
the car behind was fine, like on road, but Cheryl was angled like a Dutch.
She was Dutch.
Don't know what you're talking about. Sorry.
I'm trying. I'll try to bring it up.
She was like
And then,
walking. I don't know if she was purposely walking sideways or if it was like kind of a layered situation again.
is it like right after she
It's
runs
when
back to the
she
car?
no, when she gets out of the car to go look for
Okay.
Ash and starts walking, and it cuts to a perspective of showing the car from the front, and she's walking towards the camera.
At that scene.
Said she was either
But it was
walking
weird.
crooked or layered. What do you mean by layered?
Well, layered as if she was walking completely straight and fine, but the layer was Dutched, angled, and put on top of the car being straight.
No.
Okay, I see
no
what
way
he.
that, no way they did that.
I can see what he. Mm, trying to-
I don't understand how the road lines up to how she is walking versus how the car is staying stationary. It looked just
I don't think
it
that.
looked unnatural, and I don't know the reason for it. And I don't know, Sinister, if you have like a fact behind that one.
No, but I don't think that. It'd be weird if it was a layer, and if it was, I don't know
But if it
why
isn't,
it
why is
would
she
be.
walking like that?
Well, that's I can't explain it because it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
All right, just another weird thing that no one knows why.
Guess so.
I if I
take it
could
you
see the
never caught
road,
it?
I could. Well, I mean, I've seen it, but I'm like I don't. I'm trying to figure out. It's not a layer because there would be a bit more telltale sign if it was.
But it's
But
also, is
and
she straight and it is a Dutch angle and the car
well,
is on
that's
an
the thing.
angle?
I can't see
The road.
I can't see the road, so I can't tell if there is an angle to it or not. So it's weird, but I don't think I don't think it's a problem.
Well, what time stamp are you at, Sinister?
It's about 33 minutes.
So, audio listeners, if you'd like to pull up the movie on your own, you go to the 33-minute mark.
Yeah. You look at it and you figure out what you think.
Yeah, I can figure out how to get that shot done, but I couldn't figure out what was actually done for the film.
Well, since everyone else is doing it, I might as well check it out too.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize it would be that big of a scene.
Well, I mean, it could be as simple as she's walking down a hill that's a different angle than the hill the cars.
That's like I said, that's the only thing I can think of, but I literally can't see the road to
'Cause
confirm if that's
while she's
what it
walking, she's kind of stumbling as well, so it might not be a flat
But she's leaning
surface
so
they're
far
on.
right.
I mean, nobody's saying she's not doing not a great job of illustrating it, but hold on.
The
See,
fact that she passes in front of it, I'm pretty confident it's not layered.
yeah, okay, there is a
So,
hill, yeah, there's a
I am
hill.
saying
She-
it's a hill.
She's walking funky, but I don't know how much of that is intentional or how much of it is just by the fact of having to walk down.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's a little weird shot.
It probably was something where it looked weird, but Sam Raimi liked it, and then he was just like, "Okay, let's just leave that in."
Yeah, it looks unnatural, and he's like, I like that.
I like it.
I mean, the idea would be it would have a car at an angle and have a person walking
Yeah,
normally, I think.
yeah, but it was probably also the hill. She's also not wearing shoes, so she's probably like making sure she doesn't fall or something. So she's kind of, I don't know.
Well, at this point in production, she's all bloodied and cut up in her feet, right?
Yeah, yeah. So,
Assuming they film chronologically.
oh no, she does have shoes. Never mind, she does have shoes, but still, probably, probably it's freezing cold and it's probably slick. So, yeah. So looks weird, but it doesn't seem to be like a purposely weird thing. It just how it turned out.
Okay. I'm glad I caught it.
Yeah.
I like the card guessing game. How she was kind of stringing was it Linda? That
She
was
was making fun of her.
She didn't get one right.
Linda's
Yeah.
just getting strings along.
stringing
Yeah.
her along, which was pretty amusing. A
It-
friend
it-
thing to do.
Yeah,
It's also
you've
good.
done
It's
that.
also a good introduction to the monster,
Yes.
like proper
Uh,
introduction.
Now,
Yeah, like remember when you were helping me study and I was like doing all these, you're like, "That's right, you got the right answer," and then I failed that test. That was really funny.
now, Sinister. I've made a couple examples before of films taking things from this film.
Mhm.
Did Ghostbusters take this scene?
the, I think that's just a happy accident. I don't think that's
Okay.
purposeful. I it,
The whole
it, that was
think
it's
it's
a
unique enough to
triangle.
claim that.
Very well,
Yeah.
you did good. It's not right at all.
well, that's just because he's trying to score with that college girl. I don't think Shelley is trying to score with Linda here.
No, not the purpose of the characters, but just
Yeah,
paying
no.
homage to the scene. I didn't know.
I
Not likely.
if Dan Aykroyd did write that specifically for that, good on you. I'm glad he's a Sam Raimi fan, but seems unlikely.
And Harold Ramis, the late
And
great
Harold,
Harold
yeah,
Ramis.
it's the
Give it-
late great Harold Ramis.
both deserve credit.
Yeah, but since we're kind of getting to the scene when Shelley is levitating, what do you think that is?
Kelly levitating?
Cheryl.
Carol.
Deadite show.
Why or how they did that? What was the question?
How did they do it? Yeah, how do
do
you
it?
think they? Yeah,
My guess would be wire, or they just got a really big doll. Then
My guess is they have something sticking out her back that they're controlling.
I'd go with the back thing as well. That it could have been like a scarecrow post.
all right.
Oh, maybe that'd be interesting.
All right, Crimson and Springtree are the closest. They lifted her up with a 2x4
Okay.
on her back. Yeah.
Very basic. Okay.
Yes, they
Do what
in
you
an
gotta
interview
do.
with an interview with Sam Raimi, he said, "Well, there's a scene where I need somebody to levitate, and I can't afford wires, thin enough to, how do I do it, And so, you use a board. Something has to lift them off the ground, so you just gotta, have something lift them off the ground."
Yeah, it's kind of like the magician's floating ball trick, where it's just a stick on their chest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Spoilers for any magic trick I just spoiled.
It's all about perspective. Make the audience believe what they want to see. Was it?
It's the pledge. The
Okay. No, we're good. The pledge to the 300 prestige. I got it. Was Scotty the one to comment on the eyes?
No,
No,
Who
that
commented
was,
the eyes?
that's Shelley.
Kelly.
Shelley.
Yeah.
Okay. Why did no one comment about the floating?
I have no idea.
I feel like someone flying is a little bigger than eyes just going white.
Well, we don't know if she's done that before.
You know what, Sinister? You got me
That's for-
there.
That's
She
true.
might be
Maybe it did catch
magician.
him off guard.
This might be like a little trick, she pulls sometimes just to, pull it off the
And they brought a
ground.
deck of cards. Maybe she was a magician, you know?
Could
She
be.
came over from Halloween Town. I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah.
She's a
But
witch.
I have a note about them choreographing the whole sequence in front of the car after the bridge scene was over. Like it's not where Cheryl's, saying it's not going to let us leave. They have like I don't know. It was very weirdly shot that it felt like a choreographed dance between Bruce Campbell and Cheryl in front of in like the car's headlights.
Oh, when she's freaking out.
Yeah, when she's freaking out, it felt very, very choreographed. The whole sequence. I don't know. It just
felt
stood out to
weird.
me.
I mean, their whole interaction with that is weird. Him not talking, him jumping out at her.
Yeah.
It all felt off. And not the good kind of off.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
What lazy writing? They didn't write.
16%.
This was actually probably like really, active writing.
For Ryder, I don't know if this will go into the effect of how you felt with Blair Witch, because I think that was also like not fully written. It's mostly improv.
Yeah.
I
Blair
think
Witch
it was
had
the same thing.
Yeah, Blair Witch had, I think, more going for it than this does. But
Interesting.
yeah.
Well,
this
with a horror
was
movie, as long as you
16 to
just have
60 pages, right? Is what you said.
yeah,
It was written.
16 to 66 pages, which ended up with about 117 minutes of rough cut by the end. So
And so about 20 to 66% was written.
yeah. But I mean, they knew the beat, so they had the beats of like where the story needed to go. They just didn't have a lot of the dialogue or certain themes fleshed out. Which with a horror movie, as long as you kind of know, okay, X dies here, Z dies here, you can pretty much make a movie, a horror movie, anyways. But there is, unfortunately, consistency is a little bit wrecked by that.
And now that we're in the section that has more visual effects and makeup, I think the worst visual effects in this easily is Cheryl getting hit in the head by Scott
No,
in the cellar. I
no,
think
I
that looks
love it.
terrible.
No, you're wrong.
It's-
You're just
Well, you just like
objectively
cheesy
wrong.
bad stuff. That's
You're just objectively wrong. I'm sorry. I don't want to say that, but you're just objectively wrong.
I don't know why
Wow.
they chose to do that puppet.
because they can't actually hit a person.
Why
No,
not?
that's why you act like you got hit in the face. They were doing a front angle. It wasn't from the side or anything. That could have easily been acted.
Well, they also have to make sure that that there's a cellar down there. There's not like a it's not just like a hole in the ground, which that's what it is, by the way. It's a hole in the ground that they dug before they started production.
Not a nasty, dirty, wet hole, but a hobbit hole.
I don't even think a
Yeah,
hobbit hole.
yeah.
It's a nasty, wet, dirty hole, really.
And where all the cow manure seeped in.
Mm-hmm. Not fun to film in there. No. I'm joking, of course. You're right.
Yeah, it just seems like they didn't need to use that puppet.
I mean, it was great for 1979. Not so great for 2023. Actually, not even great for
Yeah, I was going to say it
1985.
wasn't good for the time. That was definitely one of the examples you provided where he was rushed to do.
I thought it was very weird that once they managed to get Cheryl into the cellar, that they don't have a group meeting at all.
No.
They just time skip.
They're bad friends. They don't really care about each other.
Well,
They
like
care
you said,
about
it's just
their
Cheryl.
they care about
Well,
their
okay, it's for Cheryl.
relationship.
Bruce,
Well, no.
Ash cares about Scotty and Linda, and he doesn't give a shit
Ash
about
is the
Cheryl
one
or
who
Shelley.
cares the most about anybody, and it's
Yeah.
very small. I do think that the effect of the pencil in the ankle did look pretty good.
That still sickens me.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
it's a
That
bit
was pretty
rubbery,
good.
but yeah,
I
it's,
mean, just it doesn't. I mean, it looks fine for the time, but
yeah, passes the time.
the act of it just sickens me. It I have a thing with that. That would
It's just
be
one of those things where just the visual, even if
yeah.
it's not achieved realistically, is enough. Like
It's the idea of
maybe
it. Yeah.
somebody pulling someone's teeth, even if that's done poorly, could still get you a little bit
Or
like,
like
ugh.
the uh like that French experimental film, or whatever, where they cut the eyeball open, and it's obviously like not a human, it's a goat or whatever. It's
Oh,
still it still
yeah.
grosses me out. Yeah, like even though I know it's not actually a human, it's still disgusting and it makes me sickens me. I
Yeah,
can't remember
man,
the
I
Yeah,
name. It's
forgot
like
what the
Un
brings
movie is.
back,
Chien.
Yeah, I know
brings
what you're
back
talking about.
memories.
Yeah, that I can't remember the title of it, but it's like some French experimental or you know weird film. But yeah, like it's real, but it's not like actually a human. It's still like grosses and sickens me out.
It's the idea of it.
Yeah, it's the idea.
Like in Men,
Uh,
the
no,
birth
no, no, no,
wasn't
no, no.
real, but the idea.
Surprisingly, I wasn't sickened by that. I don't know why. Maybe it's
I don't know,
me.
that's still the most revolting thing I think I've seen in
Maybe
a
my
movie.
brain's broken.
Could be. Uh, I'll jump to a little thing that I noticed. I think it was
Little
about
thing.
this instance, the third occurrence of it, but the moon itself, that big orange moon, is
Yeah,
Mhm.
constantly being smoked over.
yeah.
And changing sizes.
Yeah, is that what is the reason for the moon constantly having smoke covering it?
Well, so that it's to have like a cloud, but you can't depend on nature to always have a cloud. So you have this smoke, which doesn't look like a cloud at all.
Okay, so is there a
But
way of making cloud movement?
Yeah.
there's
There's
also an aspect. Oh, yeah,
no, you
first
go.
thing.
I
Uh, kind of a retroactive fix, I guess, for this would be in the show. The Force actually gets a visual in the show. It doesn't get a visual in the movies. The visual is a cloud. It's a fog thing.
yeah.
So
Oh, interesting.
potentially in this, the fog you see is the Force.
Oh, so smoke monster.
No, 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 no. This is actually good.
Oh,
Ooh,
oh.
ooh.
Oh,
Uh,
So
I
the
haven't
show
finished
makes
Lost.
the
Can't really
Force
speak to it.
fog. I don't know if that's the intention of the first film.
yeah. I don't because it's more of a thing in like the show, like in the the future movies. I couldn't really find anything on this specifically of what other than just it's a scary movie. Scary movies have fog.
Yeah,
I think they might have just yeah.
but there was never
It's
one of just
atmosphere.
the moon, just of the moon. Every time the moon was shown, it was always getting fogged over it, and it didn't start with fog already
Can I?
there.
Can you?
That's when I
Do you have
went
a
to.
time?
Is it?
Do you have a timestamp for the moon thing so I can
Oh
look
shoot,
There's a
real quick?
few,
I don't. It
but
happens,
I
I
don't
think,
have any
4 times in the
timestamps.
film.
Okay.
I wrote it down here after the pencil ankle. So I think when Cheryl goes into
Okay.
the the cellar, it then goes to outside to show it.
Because I'm
Yeah,
just
But
so
kind
It
looking
of
at my
usually
notes.
it usually transitions to the moonshot when
yeah.
it's they're doing a
Okay.
small time skip.
All right.
yeah,
I'm seeing the thing. Okay. Hold on.
but every time it goes to the moon is what I'm saying. It starts with a fog. It's never currently fogged over or just no fog to begin with at all for a shot,
Yeah.
which made me question if it's being a reused shot.
I don't
Okay.
think
So that's
they
that.
reused the visual.
These from the first one, the one that you said. Yeah, I think it's kind of like this rolling fog thing where they're trying to convey that with the overlay or whatever. So I was incorrect when I said cloud. I was imagining it differently.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's supposed to be representing the fog and kind of the light of the moon be disappearing kind of thing. Just a cool little effect you can do after.
Yeah, to show movement, so it's not like a still image.
Yeah, and so time is going forward.
This brings up another question I have. We've touched on it. The whole point of view shot of Cheryl looking through the crack in the trap door to see the little discussion going on after Ash puts Linda to bed and Scotty in the
Mhm.
room and whatnot. is that hand the actual actress of Cheryl's, or is that a
That
cameraman
could
with
be one of the
makeup hand?
doubles.
It's I think that's Sam Raimi.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh, I think I read that somewhere before as well.
Yeah, I think that's Sam. Yeah, I remember reading that he did something with the hand in one of the scenes, but I don't remember if it's that one specifically.
Okay.
But I believe that's Sam Raimi. So good job, Sam. Everybody, let's give a close hand for Sam, huh?
Hand for Sam.
Hand for Sam. Hand for Sam.
I'll just say clap, clap, clap. So I'm not, I don't want to
Ah, damn!
turn
I
away
should have
the audio people.
set up the soundboard so we could have clap.
No soundboard.
So. Okay, so.
I can jump to another thing.
Yeah.
What is up with the wallpaper in the bathroom?
Wallpaper. It's literal paper. It's literally paper.
It's
I don't know.
literally paper. Did they not have a bathroom? I don't understand the yellowed paper.
There's no running water. That's another funny point. So, it's not having anything to do with that specifically, but so the living room or whatever, were the main room, right?
Yeah.
When they got the cabin, that was actually two separate rooms, and they tore down the wall for, which is why there's a plaster and then there's a wood panel difference. It's if you can catch it, you're watching it way closer than you should. But there was actually two separate rooms. They when they remade the cabin for the second one, the production designers picked up on that and did it again without realizing why there was like two separate wall basically designs.
And that's some detail-oriented workers right there.
Yeah, they didn't even realize that it was because the rooms were technically two rooms made into one. Yeah, for the wallpaper, is probably just cheesy wallpaper.
Okay.
Maybe they had Looney Tunes wallpaper and they had to cover it up.
Yeah, it looks like it had to be covered up by how it looks. At least for Scotty looking into the tub.
Yeah,
Oh, that's another. I got another little
copper
thing for
written.
that. When he opens the door and there's the Camp Tamaqua T-shirt. That's been in several. That's another staple of Sam Raimi films. He has a Camp Tamaqua shirt in a couple of them.
Oh,
I didn't know about that one.
Because he was a camper and a camp counselor there before he got his start into filmmaking.
very cool. That one
I
did
know.
not know.
Yeah, I think that's his T-shirt in this one, and it's in the second one. I know for sure. It's in a couple.
As much as I appreciated the gore of this scene,
Yes,
I was confused by why. Oh, it's not Linda. It was the other one.
Shelley.
Shelley. Yeah. Why did she bite off her own hand or try to bite
for
off her
gore.
arm?
For gore
gore.
effect.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
I mean, they established the whole dismemberment rule, at least to Ash, so he knows that's how you're supposed to defeat them, and when he's listening through headphones. But they never. So I thought that was done for, whatever the knife had cut halfway through her hand or whatever. So it was.
Well, yeah. I think one, it's just for gore's sake, so that it's disgusting and off-putting.
Okay.
And then also because now that hand is somewhat useless, and it's to just get rid of the hand, I guess. But I will admit, technically for the theme of dismemberment, it's a problem.
It's setting up something later on about cutting off someone's right hand.
Foreshadowing.
That's not in this movie at all. You can't say that.
It's more of an attribute to these demons, later called Deadites, is they have zero self-preservation, pretty much. That they don't really care about the body they're in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they tend to hurt themselves just to fear the people there.
Yeah, well,
attacking.
to kind of sicken the people. Yeah, their
Yeah.
their loved ones. Yeah.
I mean, it works. Like I said, it was just confusing to me. I guess as a first time
No, yeah,
viewer.
it's mostly I'm sure just for gore's sake. It has really no relevance to
There's me.
yeah anything.
There's me looking for a reason as to why it happened. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. I realize that people go to these movies for the gore. So
Yeah, so story
that was a
second, gore first.
big hurdle I had to overcome for Brain Dead. It's just
Oh, well, yeah.
gore for gore's sake.
Sinister, another possible
Mhm.
homage to pulling something. Scotty going to open the shower drape. Is that to be
Yes.
played off of Psycho?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay.
That was just like a horror trope in general. The the shower curtain.
With the
Open the
silhouette.
shower curtain.
Huh?
There's no silhouette.
There's no silhouette.
No, the silhouette of his hand opening the shower curtain.
Oh yeah, the shadow cast on his
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Sure. I mean, it's a subversion of sorts because usually when that's played out, there's something in there. But in this case, he turns around to the camera and gets attacked, which I liked. And it was a weird effect that they did, the scratch on his face. It seemed a little
Yeah.
weird, but I liked it.
It was
something was
odd.
off.
It
Yeah.
reminded me of I couldn't tell if that was stop motion.
There was something going on with it. I could not.
And
tell.
I think that was a frame thing. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
I
frame
see
was-
now what you mean with the wallpaper, the yellow wallpaper. So
Yeah.
I think originally they had a scene that they were gonna film, like that was like the fight or whatever with Shelley was gonna be in that bathroom. And part of the deal that they had with the people who rented the cabin to them was that they leave the cabin no worse than when they found it. So kind of
Oh,
to
had
preserve the
staining or something.
yeah.
They had to put the cow poop back.
Well, no, but
Right.
again, there's they joked in the book that really they could have probably destroyed most of it, and it still would have been about like the same as when they got there. So they could pretty much do whatever they wanted. But I'm sure they were probably like, you know what, we'll be considerate and probably try to minimize whatever we got, and then it's like, oh fuck it, let's just throw fucking Kara syrup all over the floor.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's why that's up there. It would be weird otherwise, or maybe it was just like
It just
like
looks
what,
very weird.
I mean, yeah, it looks weird, but the whole movie looks kind of weird, so it fits. It's not too out of place.
I'll point out an audio
Point.
discrepancy.
You pointer.
I know.
Maybe
When
you pointer.
Scotty's looking out the broken window, there's no broken glass sound effect when he's walking over where the glass would be on the floor.
That's the audio you picked up.
It's our
The lack
artistic
thereof.
choice.
Yeah, there was no
Yeah,
audio for the
he
broken
can
glass.
only pick up the lack thereof. He can't pick up if it's a problem in
That was
this.
okay.
One.
I had another
the window
audio
blew
thing I picked up.
inwards.
Yeah.
So there would have been glass he'd be stepping on.
They didn't do the Foley for that. Sorry, they didn't do the Foley for you. Crimson, I know you're about Foley.
I know
talk about it all the time.
the makeup and the gore and everything was very well done for what they had at times. However, I think the blue veins on the face don't look great.
Which ones?
I believe
Like in general, or
no,
or
I believe
Shelley?
it's on Shelley. Yes.
I think it looks good.
Blue veins.
To me, it looked
Which-
very just
wait.
drawn on and didn't really have depth to them.
I mean, how would that? I mean, you'd have to like do like a
Yeah,
prosthetic
and they looked
for
a
it to
bit.
have depth.
They looked a bit too wide.
I can see what you mean, but I think for. I mean,
Can't even
they're possessed by a
picture the
demon, so
veins
they can
on
look like how.
Shelley.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
can
I mean,
picture
compared to like
Linda and Cheryl.
the kind of like the highlight of blue they have on their hands and like up their arms, I think that looks great for like an inner vein look. But the kind of drawn on from the neck up to the face didn't look great.
And this is for Shelley?
I
Yeah.
believe it's for Shelley.
I mean, they all have the veins thing, but I feel like Shelley's is the most prominent
Can't even
for
picture
this
veins on
act.
him. I just
She's got it on
only
her
picture
neck.
her mushed up face after the fire.
Yeah. Thank you for taking me off the back cold.
It's
I like
after she bites her hand off.
I think the sound for the voices as the possessed is really good. I think they did a good
Oh
job.
yeah, the distortion in the vocals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the freaking 10-minute scream. Ah!
Yeah, the 10-minute scream or the just
I
constant laughter.
I couldn't there's definitely some of the actresses and other actors are definitely doing their own, voice overs and stuff, but Sam Raimi is credited as the Deadites or the Evil Dead or something in the credits. So I don't know which those are.
Is he the Join Us?
I'm not quite sure. I couldn't find a definitive
Oh,
answer for that.
yeah.
They just have it generally as he was the Evil Dead.
He might have been the Join Us then.
He
Doesn't
might have
really
been
sound
that,
like
or
him, but
I know the force sound effect is also something that he worked on, so that could be what they mean there too. Like I said, it's vague, and I know there's definitely some scenes that are not the actual actors doing the voices, but I couldn't tell you which is which. In all my research, I couldn't really peg down a definitive answer.
So it was touched on earlier that Ash is being cowardice at parts by just standing still, and I think it's pretty much very prominent here in the scene where Scotty
Yeah.
is chopping up Shelly with the axe because Ash is just standing there with the axe in hand, not doing anything but watching. Or actually, the whole kind of fight that Scotty's having with Shelly, Ash is just standing there.
Ash is just watching.
Yeah, well, he's terrified.
Yeah, I figure that's just because he's in fear.
I think Ryder though picked up on a thing that I have to agree with because I always read it as cowardice, but he's also like, he doesn't want to
Shocked.
hurt he doesn't want to hurt his friends. You could argue about like whether how much of them are friends, but like for just what the script is or what the setup is, like they're his friends and loved ones, so doesn't want to doesn't if he was gung ho like Scotty is, I think he might have some problems. This it's a very
Yeah, you probably don't need two of those.
yeah. So him and plus we see that his it pays off and that he survives. I don't know whether I would want to survive or not, but he makes it to the end.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys are paying Scott to be more of a bad guy than he is.
I'm not
well,
saying
I'm
he's a
just
bad
saying,
guy. He's
he's not a
just
bad guy,
a
but I'm
bad
just saying
friend.
like he's like
Well, you guys brought up earlier how he jumped on board quickly to the
well, I
killing.
didn't. I'm not counting for that. I'm just saying he's fighting more from the beginning. I think he has more reason to fight because he's getting like visibly attacked and like grappled with more. But
My issue is that he didn't react to what he'd done. I'm fine with him
Well, he
taking
pulled her out of
down.
the fire because he was
Yes,
worried about killing her.
which seems a little bit odd. Right? I don't, like once in the fire, that's it. Just leave him in there.
He was concerned for her, or else he would have just left her cook.
I gotta find my notes
Yeah.
for this scene.
I do like the blood trickle over the lens of the camera, though. It's a cool detail.
From the projector scene or the
No.
from
When
the
Scotty's
accent.
like the
okay.
perspective of Shelly on the floor
When they're
being axed apart.
that's a good one. Sure, that was very expensive to do.
Could be. I don't know.
I'm sure
Sinister, do you
I'm
know
sure
what was the blood in the film?
it was
Corn
Caro
syrup.
syrup. Yeah, it was like corn syrup, red dye, and I know
Honey?
Tom Sullivan, the special effects guy, mentioned. I don't know at which. It was definitely used at different parts. There was they also used black coffee to I guess maybe liquefy it a bit more. But I couldn't tell you when which mixture is being used or not. It's kind of just up for.
All right, they probably ruined a couple lenses.
Well, they might have
I mean,
put
they
some
could have
projector
put
on.
something in
Yeah,
front of it.
yeah. I'm assuming they put something in front of it because they literally only had two cameras and both of them were rented. They didn't own them, so
Okay. They probably had a
But one of
connection.
them was by the end of this movie. One or both of them were broken. You know,
Yeah.
indie film shoot, classic.
The audio
Uh,
you touched on earlier about the glass crimson, I thought you were going to touch on the audio of Scotty looking out the window, and the audio is coming from inside the cabin, but being picked up from outside.
What audio are you talking about?
When Scotty's talking to Ash to kind of like what they're going to do with Shelly, and he's looking out the window, and from outside the house or outside the cabin, the audio being picked up is from the recording of outside the cabin. It's not being taken up clearly from inside.
That was what you mean. Yeah. It could be demon listening, but it's not really demon vision.
yeah,
No, being a
probably
still shot, I figured it was just not.
it was probably where they had to re-record it or something, and they couldn't get the actor, and they just had to use whatever they had. So that was another thing where they didn't record a lot of the sound audio rights. They all had to be redone in
Maybe.
post.
And then them carrying Shelly out, that was sped up.
Yes.
Sinister, do you have a reason why that was sped up?
Well, because it probably would have taken like 15 minutes. No, sorry.
Because earlier when we touched on the slow-mo and sped up stuff, you said you had things to touch on for...
Well, I just said like that they didn't. It wasn't actually slow mo, or it was just frame. They did like different frames per second.
Okay. The
to
FPS.
change. Yeah. I don't think it's sped up.
I thought it was sped up
Marshall.
when they're carrying it.
I didn't see that.
I don't. No, I think they're just. I mean, they're just moving fast. It's not like It was sped up. I thought it was like 0.25 or something, and they'd be like
No.
but it doesn't look that unnatural. So I don't think it's sped up. It's just they're just, I think, moving a lot faster. They're hustling.
What you could argue is the passage of time, though, is they had to get the body together in a bag,
Oh, it's
10 to
outside,
6. Dig a hole.
I know what time it is.
Dig a
I don't know
hole,
what time it is.
and then Ash had to do that all over again with Linda.
Yeah.
Listen, Linda. Yeah, I mean, there's
well,
a lot of
also 10 to 6 before the clock broke or got possessed or whatever. It's dark out already.
Well, that could also be a demon thing and not a.
Oh, you think the demon brought on like sunset?
Well, they did cover the moon in fog, so I don't know if it brought on sunset, but it might have just exacerbated.
That's a reach on that one.
I'm just
I don't
saying
know
they,
when nighttime
yeah.
comes in Tennessee in 1980s. Okay.
Well, it's also
And the season.
technically. Well, it would have been they were aiming
it's winter
for
time.
fall season, but yes, it could have been night by that point in time. But it's, I think, in fall it gets late. It gets dark out at like 3 or 4, right? So not outside the realms of possibility.
Ryder, you got anything to point out?
I'm thinking. I guess not.
I have a little fun fact about the deadite unofficial eyes, the blank eyes.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah, those are the most cheaply afforded contact lenses you could get for a film production, and they were so thick that they could only really be worn they could only be worn uncomfortably for about 10 to 15 minutes with without causing any serious damage.
All right.
Well, that's
Yeah.
good. Good
So,
on the actors, I guess, for the time they were.
No shortage of pain and anguish was spared on this film.
According to my notes, I also didn't take much issue with Scotty not reacting to axing his friend.
Yeah.
I have pulled
So it
up.
was something you mulled over at the time.
I have
It was
pulled
his
up
girlfriend.
information. Sunrise and sunset with twilight in the winter of 1980 in Gallatin, Tennessee.
It was Morristown.
The sun would set on December 5th. Around in this is the span of 19. Best I got here is 1982. Sun would set at 4:45 p.m. That's for January.
Pretty safe then.
Sun would rise around 7 a.m.
They
Which is
had a
also
they had a
weird because the clock is a completely different time at the end.
Demon moved it.
Yeah, it's 10 after 3, I think.
I don't remember what the clock ended with.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna talk at all about the time. I have nothing. That's the least of any concern I have with this movie is if the time is correct for the setting.
Okay. I was just curious because
No.
before the clock
I
broke, it was dark out.
the
It seems to line up though, based on what you looked at.
I'm gonna yeah
Darkness.
I'm gonna I'm assuming that the timing is probably gonna be the weakest aspect that they kept track of. Is how I'm gonna. So I'm not really gonna defend or go into that. If you want it, you can go ahead. I don't care, but
Okay. I'm on the side that
I have nothing for that.
the force, Kandarian demon does not affect the sunset.
Especially
I
with
don't think so.
the start of the second one, I would say it does not, because it would have.
And I would say even defeating it at the end that Ash does is just convenience that the sun comes up then. Because as we know from the beginning of the film and the very end of the film, the Kandarian demon is still active, or as you said, a bit dormant, even in sunlight.
Yeah, we can't really talk about the sunlight thing because that's in the second one. That's
Yeah. I'm just saying it doesn't come out at night.
yeah. Well, it does, but yeah.
I mean, it was out already when they were driving to the cabin
Yeah.
during the day.
That's what I'm touching on.
Okay. I think Linda, the actress who plays Linda, is probably the creepiest Deadite in this movie.
Easily the
She-
best.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
have that much
I would
makeup
agree.
to her, which I
No,
think gives off the
it's
factor.
yeah. She's like a creepy baby doll.
It's also the white nightgown.
Yeah, Chatty Cathy.
We're gonna get you, not another peep.
Now I can say for certain that was not Sam Raimi.
No.
that was definitely the actress.
Was it
The shot?
for? I think it was a convenience sake that when Ash went to check on her leg, that's when she turned.
Well,
Sure, or the demon was just waiting for him. Because they toy around.
they have a toy and it's Ash.
To be fair, I'm very impressed that Linda just went right to fucking sleep after everything that happened.
Hey,
Stayed asleep through all the
yeah.
screaming and murdering and axing going on.
But
I
that
don't know
just
when
leaves-
she turned, but yeah, I'm surprised
Maybe-
she managed to sleep through all that.
It was the whole time. We don't know. It's ambiguous.
Yes,
But yeah.
ambiguous.
But yeah, so freaking Scotty goes out and just gets his shit just wrecked. I mean,
Oh,
just
yeah.
like honed.
Man just wants to abandon them. They doesn't want to bunker down until morning, which should be
No.
or at all. It just wants to go. I mean, like I suppose I get it, but not a sane decision.
Well, he literally just killed his girlfriend and just killed his girlfriend.
Whom he loved very deeply, obviously.
Yeah, killed. Hey, she had they had that scene where she changed clothes. I'm sure he was a fan. Whatever. Chopped her up, buried her, and he's like, okay, I don't see us going much higher here. I think we're where we're at. I'm gonna leave while I still have some accountability for myself, and
I mean, he did invite Ash. He wasn't
Yeah.
completely selfish.
but the second he was like, but Linda can't.
But Linda
I don't give a
can't
shit.
make that.
I don't give a
Not
shit
my
about Linda.
girlfriend.
Yeah. So yeah, Linda. Yeah, Linda being. I assume she turned before that because they're having this discussion very loudly outside of Linda's window.
Yeah.
You know, but I guess it's a tribute to the fact that she hasn't woken up to anything else yet. So
Thick walls.
I thought it was funny. In my notes here, I have what is it? Scotty, I see you're injured and bleeding out, so let me shake you violently on the couch.
And slap you in the face.
Yeah, just continually pushing him and bumping him around on the couch. I found it comedic.
Scotty, why is your chest all like liquidy? Where's your bones at?
I mean,
all around.
the slapping could work so long as you knew they didn't have a broken neck. I'm not too angry with the slapping, but the shaking violently I thought was a little odd.
You know. Well, he is like, he's just seen somebody be like dismembered and come alive and float around, and I'm
Just
sure he's
normal
probably
life in
like,
Tennessee.
yeah, I'm sure he's probably like, the shock is kind of, it's like, he's not in control of
Oh yeah,
how
it's 100% a factor.
yeah. So him not really being that good with his
I do find it funny that
bedside manner.
when Linda's turn, she just waits patiently for him to tend to his
Oh
friend.
yeah, well, because she knows that just her being like a fucking creepazoid is
Yeah.
enough to to kind of
She's a
mess
different
him up.
approach of a deadite. She's not
So all
just
she has
full
the
violent one.
emotional side. Yeah, she has the emotional side. Whereas Shelly and Cheryl were kind of just creepy and scary.
I do like the little
I
trick of
yeah
them reverting to like normal and kind of hiding the deadite inside them.
yeah
Which I think once you're possessed, there's you didn't cure them. That's their own doing. Ash was a bit. I mean, Ash's first demon, but
I mean in
I think
future
it's
and
fine he gets fooled by Linda, but I think he went way too quick on opening that cellar. That was fast.
That was a little too much,
but
yeah.
it's his sister.
yeah. At
It,
least he didn't open it all the way though.
I mean, he took the keys out. He was going to do it.
I would say
He's
good
gonna, but
proof
he didn't do
is
it. You can't get him for something he
Well,
didn't
no,
do.
they can see
she
her.
grabbed him through the
Yeah,
floor.
there's
first.
enough of a
Yeah.
crack. I think the easiest thing to test was just say like, Cheryl, let me see your face. If Cheryl looked normal.
Well, also as we've established later on, they don't really need him to unlock the cellar.
No, she just got out.
Yeah, they don't. So it's more played for a cheap thrill than a actual emotional endeavor. However you feel about that. Which Crimson says, keep those keys in your pocket, idiot.
Yes, that is what I say.
Yeah. All right. So anybody else have anything for this act before we move on to the ending?
I found it kind of gross. Was it Linda licking the blade that was in Shelley's back and stabbed in Ash's arm?
Yeah, and then repositioning her hand to grab the blade backwards.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I don't like that.
Come on, reverse knife trick. It's a double
It's
damage.
annoying.
Uh,
Stupid.
little moonlight spotlight on Linda outside.
Creepiest part of the movie. That looked really good. The lighting doesn't make sense, but it really makes it look better. She looks so creepy.
She really does. Also, maybe a slight alien homage that the Deadites spit up milk.
Could
I
be.
thought that was a production thing that they ran out of fake blood.
Yeah, probably, but I mean, unnecessarily a homage then.
I think I remember reading that somewhere.
That was 79,
Why didn't you
right?
just do the why didn't you just do the research?
I mean, that was
Yeah.
years ago. I didn't look up anything for the podcast.
And in all my research, I didn't find anything that they ran out of blood, but possible.
I think it was smart of Ash to strap Linda down into the ready-made torture
Oh.
room in the cabin or whatever.
Torture chamber.
Well,
That
it's
is
haunted
okay.
cat.
That
Or they'd probably cut the The
when
animal scene.
little fun fact, when Sam Raimi rode up to the cabin or the Morristown, Tennessee with Robert Tappert, they drove in a pickup truck that only could go the speed limit of about 55 miles per hour, and up hills it could maybe go 35 miles an hour. And the journey was about 12 hours long, and at least 1 hour of that was Sam Raimi describing and planning out this scene in the shed.
Interesting. Sam Raimi, a little bit of a sick-minded guy.
Well, he doesn't actually go through with any dismembering in this one, anyways. The second one, different story, but um, another fun fact to add on to that, the assistant editor for this movie was a young filmmaker that you probably never heard of called Joel Cohen.
As in Coen Brothers?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
never heard of
he
that.
said, yeah, and he said specifically that this scene was kind of the scene that got him interested in actually making his own movies.
Where Linda's being strapped down,
Yeah, like because
and he
it not
cries over her.
not obviously not just the like, oh, we can tie down women and cut them up.
No, no,
No,
no.
yeah,
I mean, no,
no,
no.
yeah,
I mean,
like
I
the
mean, I mean, the emotional aspect is what
yeah
got
the
him.
emotional
Yeah.
aspect and the way it's shot. Because I mean, I don't know if I couldn't find anything of another shot like a shot like this really in anything like previously, and especially in any of Sam Raimi's films before this. I don't think there was anything close to this kind of like montage, and it's not even really a montage. It's different. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, it's the quick cuts that Edgar Wright is now famous for, which blatantly stole like shamelessly, and has said in a million interviews that he stole it from Evil Dead movies. But I can't think of I think he referenced. If somebody wants to, if there's anything else in the scene, I'll look up really quick. I didn't write that down, but he mentions whatever the inspiration was for it.
And this
And it was
scene particularly, I don't really have.
not this scene, but this act.
Oh,
that you haven't
Because
talked
this is where after this he just immediately decides to take her outside because he couldn't psych himself up to do it with the chainsaw.
Yeah.
Now, not having seen this before, but knowing how iconic the chainsaw was, you could really count how disappointed I was I didn't get a payoff to it.
I
Oh, don't
I
worry. We'll
would
watch the
believe
second one
so.
next year.
I would believe it. You must have been pretty disappointed when you saw the chainsaw rev, and you're like, "This is it, the famous chainsaw," and then nothing came of it.
Yep, I was really fucking disappointed. I threw a pillow at the wall.
Why is that such a
Um,
big takeaway from these films?
But oh, the one he references and when he came up with it, the most called it. He'd been studying time cuts, which are jumps forward in time in movies. The most famous and most extreme example is the cut in 2001: A Space Odyssey, from the bone
Oh,
the ape tosses to the satellite in orbit around Earth.
yeah.
And he says, I was trying to come up with a stylistic approach to the scene where Bruce feels that he must destroy this demon that resides inside the woman he loves. Or we wanted to present it like a juggernaut. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it, and then he can't because he realizes that he loves her.
and he cuts her head off later.
With a shovel.
With a shovel.
Yes, a very sharp shovel.
Did you guys touch on
Sometimes.
the?
Have you ever gotten hit in the side of the head with a shovel? I don't think so.
Yes, I
guess
have.
the side parts
Um,
typically aren't that sharp. It's a normal shovel.
Did you guys touch on that they played the eyelid game again?
The eyelid
Uh,
game.
I haven't,
we didn't
but
talk
I
about it.
but we haven't talked about it yet. I did bring it up earlier, the first one.
They play with their eyeballs.
Well,
They
they're
tend to
not
be
It's a waiting
sleeping
game.
thing.
Oh, yeah.
Was
think
there
that's
something you wanted to say about it, Spinks, or you just?
Oh, just like that it
Did
came up
anybody else see
again,
it?
but
Yeah.
it's now the opposite, and the tone's definitely changed.
I'm
Oh,
really
yeah,
glad they didn't. I'm really glad they didn't do it just once.
And
Stop
that's
dump-
sarcastic.
Well,
You know
Well,
what,
no,
no,
Sinister?
I knew the
That's
first
not-
one,
Sinister, I'm
geez,
glad they
funny.
didn't do it once either. I'm
yeah,
glad
if
it
it was
came
just
back.
once, Sprinks would have been angry about it and probably would have marked it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's not
No,
fair.
it's true. If it was once, I would have asked why.
Why'd the bridge break once? I mean, I don't understand.
Why did they put it back together and break it again?
Yeah, why didn't they repair the bridge? Well, since they never showed anyone repairing the bridge, I guess it's fine.
Why did they only use the car twice in this movie? They should have used it a third time. Rule of threes.
They do
Uh,
a rule of threes in this film when
yeah,
Cheryl said to like stop playing the tape, and on the third time it broke the window.
yeah, she screamed. That
I
was a really good scream.
I'd like to touch on what I think is probably my favorite shot in this film after rewatching
Oh,
it. When Bruce Campbell is, or I guess Ash is pouring the first dump of dirt on Linda from Linda's perspective.
oh, right. It's
Sinister,
on the camera, basically.
Do you have how many takes it took for that to work?
Um, I they didn't have anything for that scene in particular of if it took a while, so I'm guessing it didn't take that long.
Okay, not as
So
much as the Spider-Man 1 Trey scene.
no, no. It wasn't quite that extreme.
Okay, because the first dump of dirt onto the camera lens left uh an outline or like
Yeah,
enough to see Ash still out of the lens. And it wasn't like you just saw like a part of his hair or like his shoulder or like an elbow reach up with the shovel or something. You could still see his face, and I thought that was
I
so well done.
honestly, it probably wasn't even intentional. It was probably just accidentally just liked it that it was that perfect. So they might, I mean, they probably did a couple of shots with it, or a couple of takes, and they just figured out like because probably was like we want to get it all in one go or something, or want to get like, and then finally they're just like, no, that's perfect. Just you can
Well,
see
it's
it
with the
still.
film, right? They wouldn't have seen that worked.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it
Because
just
they
framed
wouldn't
it
have.
So
They
that
didn't.
well.
they probably just filmed it, thought they got it, and
Yeah.
then while
Actually, yeah. That's
editing, like, man, we got lucky. We got a good
uh
shot.
uh that's it. That with the exception of some when they finished the original 12 weeks, they had to do 4 days of reshoots because they finally got the rushes or the dailies because they obviously couldn't go back and forth to Michigan to
Well, actually,
get it developed.
depending on the cameras they used, they could have had a viewfinder, eye lens to look at it to see what the lens is looking at for shooting.
Well, yeah,
They were
but they
getting
can't.
cheap rentals.
Yeah, I don't think that they could see what they got though.
No,
Like,
no, not
yeah,
without processing the film. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I.
but I
Yeah,
meant
so they.
because it's one long take. I'm sure Sam, while recording, could have seen the dirt on the lens.
Yeah,
Then again,
I
I don't
don't
know
know
the
if
camera
somebody
they
actually.
used.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually stayed in the pit to do that. I can't confirm that. All
I
right,
think
but
everything else they act.
okay, we're now in probably my favorite part of the movie, the ending of it.
Is that what you said with Brain Dead as well? Your favorite part was the ending.
Yeah, yeah, I like the. I mean,
Like your gore, I guess.
well, this is gore. But I like that this is the most out and out psychological moment of the whole movie. Where they're literally just tormenting him. They're not like, actually actively going after him to kill him. They're like tormenting him. It's very enjoyable.
Sinister also said National Treasure: Edge of History. The ending was his favorite.
Well,
Well, that's called
that's because it was
credits.
yeah, that's because it was over and I didn't have to watch any more of it. This I love this last like 20-30 minutes. It's probably where the movie's at its strongest, strangely.
It's where it gets its identity, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
but
yeah, I agree. I think. Um, I Linda did not wait that long after she was finished bearing to just go right after Ash's leg.
no, that's what you get for not like committing to the chainsaw bit, okay?
So you guys for not committing to the chainsaw bit and disappointing the audience. And
Well, at the time of the movie,
yeah, there was an
chainsaw was not a
iconic.
thing.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Well, when did the first Texas Chainsaw come out?
I don't know.
Because
That
would
would
that
have
have
been like
been a
70,
bigger?
76. 75, 76.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that is like the chainsaw movie.
Yeah, I'm
But
thinking. Yeah, the first one was 74. So
I'm
that would
gonna
have.
be honest though. I think 6 feet of compact dirt would have just kept these fuckers in place.
They have super strength, obviously.
Sorry.
See how fast you tore through his leg?
They can fly.
Yeah, like I said, I know they have
they
super
can run
strength.
through
Chuck him
walls.
around the rooms.
I know they have super strength. I would.
Disappear, fly.
I'm just blaming the fact that it was a shallow grave. They got lazy.
You have much
well,
more unique than your average guys. Okay.
I
but I
think
do.
it-
But again, the bloody leg, really good.
I think it was on Ash for not tying her up.
Tying her up and
Like
I
binding
find
her
it
arms and
gutsy that they
legs.
buried 2 people in the living woods.
Yeah.
They didn't know the extent. They were just like, "Oh, we dismembered her. Let's
Well, did
just bury
Cheryl
her."
talk about the trees, or did she just say she wants to get out of here?
She
No,
said the
Cheryl-
trees are
Cheryl-
alive.
Yeah,
She said the
they're
trees are
alive,
alive,
Ash,
which
they're
which
alive.
which sounds ridiculous at face value because I don't think the
Well,
at
no, because
least
obviously, Cheryl, the trees are alive. They're living organisms.
yeah.
And then
I
Scotty
think
never really said the trees got him, right? He's just
Yeah.
like, oh,
Well,
they won't
it
let us
can be
leave.
inferred by the sticks stuck in
Yeah.
them.
You
It
know,
can be inferred, but he doesn't. He's not explicit, and I will say at least Bruce Campbell's not in his right mind.
yeah,
He did say the trees know the way out.
yeah. The trees know they know.
Even some
They
of the
won't let us
trees are
leave.
on her side.
Oh,
That's a reference for the 3 people who got that one.
Uh-huh.
Oh my god, it's tickling my brain, Springs. Why did you do that? I know that.
Now you get the crucible, or not the crucible,
Got it.
the
Got it.
prestige.
Got it. Got
You
it.
get the
All right.
prestige moment for you.
I've correctly landed on it. I'm fine. We're good. That was a
Thank
Narnia
God.
reference.
Sure was.
For the 3 people who are big Narnia heads. Okay, movies. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was seen with these scenes with just Bruce Campbell written just to torment him. I'm almost certain that that was like a big thing.
Mhm.
I
This is
agree.
this is this is the beginning of the
They
torture.
could have killed him pretty easily.
I
Oh,
know
Oh yeah,
early on in
absolutely.
another little fun fact early on in the filming, I or 2 things early on in the filming, Bruce Campbell, I think he was helping shoot a scene or something, and he injured his leg, like sprained it, and in between takes while they were filming, because he still had to film, they didn't like have him just not do anything. In between takes, Sam Raimi would poke his leg with a stick to agitate him. So he would he would act in pain.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
I'm happy they're good friends after stuff like
yeah.
that.
Well, yeah. And another scene that was kept in the movie for the longest time up until they realized that it didn't work, and they shot him outside in the freezing, Tennessee wilderness, just wearing his, shirt and everything, no jacket or anything, cutting wood for about 2 to 3 hours in the freezing thing, saying that they needed it for a scene and there was no actual scene for it.
wow.
Yeah, that
No,
stayed in until they realized they couldn't have it.
there was one scene of chopping wood, but that was it.
But that was inside. Yeah, they kept it in. They didn't need to
No,
have him
Scotty.
outside. So they filmed him for about an hour, or they had him out there for an hour. I don't know how much they filmed it, but just for no reason other than to have fun on his expense.
It's very impressive that the timing on cutting off the head of Linda with the trowel shovel.
That's a cool scene. I mean, it's definitely aged, but I still think it looks pretty good.
I think it works because in the sense that like obviously he would do it out of self. He would kill her out of self
Yeah,
defense.
like it's like
He would never have.
self-defense.
Yeah, he would never have psyched himself up to do it by himself.
But yeah, that he almost shot her in the head. I couldn't do it.
The angle of that shot, by the way, I think is my favorite of the film, where
Yeah.
he's taking an aim at her head. I think it's my favorite shot, where we
I
don't see her face and it's just him acting.
Is it interesting that he has less qualms about like killing his sister than he has about like killing his or dismembering his girlfriend?
Well, as you said, what was it?
What?
Krista said earlier or something. You said, Sinister, that the dad later says, like, Cheryl just had to be everywhere.
No, I made that up. I was
Oh, that was okay.
yeah, I made that up. I was just like,
Cheryl is mentioned in the show though.
yeah, she is mentioned in the show.
So we get a little bit more on her relationship with Ash.
Yeah, they were not the closest of people. But yeah, I just found it funny that his girlfriend he's probably had for like maybe a year or 2 years or something, and then has doesn't want to even chop her up or anything, but his sister comes after him and he shoots her in the face.
I mean, this is after the Linda thing, right? That was after the Linda thing.
I'm sure you could
Yeah.
read in that like it's just like okay, I have to self-preservation is key right now. I can't just be a. I have to say my
It is a funny juxtaposition, though. I will agree to that.
the whole ending is probably some of my favorite scenes, but probably my favorites are once he comes out of the cellar and they start just tormenting him with the clock is running backwards or forwards and the Dutch angles. It's the closest I think one of the few moments where you can like watch and be like, yeah, this guy's gonna be like a big filmmaker. Like this guy's got some chops.
Gave me feels of 1408.
A little bit. I can see that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Just a torture.
I love
a room torturing someone.
Yeah, I also love that they have that over the head to the point of view shot.
Oh, the
That's
upside down shot?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So
I like
wild.
that.
I think it's used to show the decrease in sanity of Ash.
Oh yeah, I mean it's really it's all everything he does kind of in this scene. I feel like it all just works. Like very little of it doesn't stick.
I think it actually plays off of just a saying. Everything was turned upside down on his head, or on its head, and that's pretty much what that shot shows.
I mean, literally, I think in these last 20-30 minutes, there's almost every filmmaker trick you could possibly do. There's every shot, there's every angle almost.
They don't do the Jaws shot.
They don't do the Jaws shot, but I don't know how they would do it without a boat.
They don't need a
No, I know what you mean.
The dolly zoom.
Yeah, the dolly. They didn't do that, but I think that would have been. I think with the camera they had, it probably would have been almost impossible because I think you need a steady cam
It
and
kind of
an
is
actual
something
dolly.
similar to the dolly
If
zoom.
the
in
camera
second
could
one.
zoom, then it could have been achieved.
I've only seen that ever done in one student film. I've never seen anybody else really do it. Well, I mean, I've seen it done in other movies, obviously, but I've never seen somebody who's not independent really do that dolly zoom thing. It's really hard to do. I tried to do it a couple times myself, and I never got it. But no, they have the force scene, so it all works out. They have their own trademark.
Cheryl
I can
getting
just Cheryl getting shot in the face.
Yeah, we kind of touched on it. I just love how meaty that shotgun.
Oh,
is.
it's so good. It's probably one of the best.
I agree. It's one of the best shotgun hits I've seen in anything.
It's so meaty, and the blood splatter is so so perfect.
And the only thing I have a problem with it is
The
just
mask.
the face makeup.
Yeah,
on it.
yeah. I'm okay with it because everything else about it is just he does so many other complicated stuff that would be really hard to achieve to make it look somewhat natural. I'm fine if the masking isn't the greatest. But yeah, that's the only the maskings are the only stuff I have a problem with. I feel like he gets 75 or 50% of them pretty all right, but the other 50% are kind of cheesy, and you can definitely tell are ramshackle, just made in the moment kind of stuff. But kudos to Tim Sullivan.
When Ash, after chopping off Linda's head, goes back to the cabin, Linda's neck pretty much threw up on him. He wipes so much of that off his face.
Yeah, that was a continuity problem.
Yeah, yeah, that was a hard. I think that was hard for them to keep up on, because also Bruce Campbell said several times that it took hours to clean himself between takes, and also he had to handle cameras and equipment and stuff. So it was not the easiest thing to keep the blood at a reasonable, um, or to keep the continuity of the blood. It's amazing it's as good as it is.
Yeah. And then another thing is when he's like locking the front door and securing it, and then runs to the back door to make sure it's checked. What
Yeah.
is the music that starts playing?
Um,
It's out of place.
I'm gonna have to listen to it real.
It's like techno music.
Yeah, I have a note. I thought that the music that was playing when the destroyed bridge and this scene, I wrote down Blade Runner music.
Yeah, it was similar to that, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's just like another use of like something to be unnatural, but for me, it did not fit.
Do you have a timestamp? I'm trying to find it.
I can just recall the scene after he chops off Linda's face. He goes into the cabin, and in the
Oh, okay,
cabin, he sees
okay.
the cellar door open. He secures
keep-
the front door, and then he
uh,
runs to the back door.
Okay, that's
Which I thought was really
wasn't going.
weird because I'm surprised they didn't just run through the window.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
gotta have a
there's
chase scene.
already at least 2 broken windows there.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if it's. I think it sounds like a saxophone, just kind of like playing a bunch of notes, but then there's a piano at the end, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is, but I don't think it's techno.
All right, it
I
just
would have to. I'll listen to it again for like when we do with the recap or something to kind of have a better idea. But as of right now, I'm not quite sure.
well, as classical Sprinks fashion, it's a one-time use and it stands out. Unless, Ryder, you said it also was very similar to the bridge out.
Yeah,
So-
I thought the techno music was also very much overbearing on the bridge. So it's not once, it's twice at least
Okay,
for me.
well then, if that is the case, then that's on me. I did not catch the bridge one.
I'll jump to some of the blood, I guess, effects, visuals.
Yeah.
We'll go with blood visuals.
Blood visual.
The blood pouring out of the outlets, filling up the light bulb, going on the projector. Creative. I like
I
it.
think the projector is my favorite one.
I like that. Too bad there's a little problem with it.
Yeah, it doesn't.
The
It's not
drops on
matching.
the lens do not match the projection at
No.
all.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Very cool
It's-
though. I still like it.
The lens has the drops landing on the lens, while the projection is blood drip, like going down the side of the lens.
Hmm.
But good creative stuff there. Something this film is not short of. Creative
Yeah, there's.
shots.
I still find when he steps in that puddle, the bloody puddle, I'm still disgusted by that. So gross.
Oh, with like the box floating.
Yeah, the box floating.
Wow.
Yeah, I know that went right through his shoes. Those fucking elf shoes. As
Oh,
Bruce
yeah.
Campbell called them.
Yeah.
Um. But yeah, like I said, the last 30 minutes has like some of the most creative camera and shots I think of the whole movie. Really where it comes into its own. I love probably one of my another favorite. I know, but I got a lot of favorites in this one. But I love the touching the mirror and its water. It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
cool.
I love also the shot with him rising into a brighter spot from a very dark basement. Like when he's
Mhm.
going up the stairs, he's walking towards the light, kind of. I thought that was nice. I really enjoyed that cinematography there.
Oh yeah.
On the topic of the mirror,
Mhm.
I guess on the opposite, I don't like it. It doesn't really make sense. I don't know
Yeah.
why he touches the mirror.
I'm in agreement.
What they
with
did in the
Fred.
second one, far superior.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, but we're not talking about the second one.
No,
I know.
I do agree. It
Which is
doesn't
why I
make
brought
sense.
up in this. There's no
but
reason he'd
I
touch
do
it.
like the effect of it.
The good effect. Why it's in there They didn't give any
It
reason.
could
That's
just be something of
cool.
yeah. It could just be something
Yeah,
Sam goes, "Oh, this is a cool effect. Let's just put it in. Just put it
yeah,
in."
that's what.
That's I think what it is.
The only reason I can think being played is that it's just a more uh, another visual to the damaged psyche and sanity that Ash is getting.
Samurai writes in. Ash says, "Boy, I need to touch my face. Wait, that's a mirror. Oh, it's water. Oh,
Well, remind me, in the mirror, is the background just dark, or can you actually see the rest of the cabin? If it's just dark and Ash is the only thing in the mirror, then it would make sense
well."
that something's off.
So I have trouble answering that question because of how it's set up. Obviously, it's you can't touch a wall of water, so it's on the floor.
Yeah.
So if it looks odd, it's very hard. It's black, so yeah, you can't see the background because it's the roof.
So because of that, is that what Ash is seeing? That it's just black behind his figure.
Don't I wasn't in the movie. I don't know.
No, I'm not saying
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
saying for Bruce. I'm not saying Bruce Campbell what
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
seeing. I'm
yeah.
saying for Ash when he looks at the mirror, he just sees himself in a black void on the mirror. Because then that would give a little more depiction to reach out and touch it. If it looks just
Um,
like him and like the cabin's fine, I don't see. I'm with Crimson. I see no point in touching the mirror if it looks exactly the same.
you're gonna be surprised by this, but I'm not sure. Depending on, I, I mean, my problem here is if I say yes, I don't really know because I don't actually know what it's supposed to look like for him. I don't have the script in front of me, and I'm sure there probably wasn't in the script actually. What am I saying?
Well, I figure what we're
Um,
seeing in the mirror is
yeah,
what he sees.
I don't. Okay, if I'm being realistic, I don't think he actually sees it as a black background. I think that's just for to make the effect work.
Byproduct
Because
of
if
the effects.
yeah, if I'm realistic, uh, I I mean, there's really no reason for him to touch it in the other one either.
Yeah,
I don't want to. Yeah,
if I
I'm not
was
going
in
to
his
touch on the other
shoes,
one, but
Well, I know I'm not. I'm trying to like compare the two because I feel like both are sort of. I feel like both are kind of unnecessary, except they're really cool, and that's all that really usually that's all that matters. But I'm trying to decipher. Again, I think it's cool enough where it's like I don't really need him to have a reason to touch it because I like the effects so much. Because also you could here's Crimson's gonna spit back at me, so I'm preparing myself. But
building up the saliva. All right.
yeah, yeah. Uh, you could argue that he's feeling his face and everything, and he goes to touch the mirror because he wants to have a sense of reality. He wants to know physically, and people who have like panic attacks and anxiety and stuff do something similar where they pick 3 or 4 objects in the room and they focus on them or something. So in a moment of desperation, he's probably like, I'm touching my face in the mirror. I'm gonna touch the mirror and make sure the mirror is real. And then he touches it and his hand goes through it, and now that's exasperated this anxiety and this paranoia and everything, which I think fits. I don't feel like I need him to tell me, boy, I really am just excited and really on edge after I chopped my girlfriend's head off. I better touch this mirror to make sure it's real. I feel like that would be worse than if he just was like, and if it's just like an infer of like he is testing the boundaries of his sanity right now to make sure everything is, what he's experiencing is real. So he touches
It,
his face, and then he, is touching the thing that's presenting it to him.
it would be more meaningful if he played with a necklace though than the mirror. If that was the angle they're trying to go for.
Does he have the necklace at this point?
yeah,
It's
it's
in
in his
his
pocket.
pocket.
He plays with it
Oh
later.
yeah, he plays with it after. Yeah, that's right. I saw that scene, of course.
That was in the movie.
Okay. Well, either the case, I was just because
Yeah, I'm
for
kind of
me,
in.
if it's one way, it leans more makes sense. If it's not, then it leans more doesn't make sense.
I think it's subjectively very cool. I don't see an objective point unfortunately.
'Cause even if Sprink's example, of he sees a black void. If I was in his shoes, my first thing wouldn't be touch the mirror. It'd be look behind me.
I think I'd
That would be my first instinct.
touch the mirror with the gun,
Why
not
would you
your
touch the
bare
mirror with a
hand.
Well,
gun?
why would you do that?
Yeah,
Poke it.
I'm not even behind that one. Poke.
If you're
Look
looking
what?
at
It's a
it and it
mirror.
looks off, and you're being attacked by demons and possessed friends, something is clearly wrong with the mirror. Use the weapon to aim at it. I wouldn't put my bare hand towards a demonic
At,
item.
I can see I'm on my own little island on this point, and I will leave with this. I want to do a cool effect. There's a mirror over there. What also looks like a mirror? Water. What if I had my character touch a mirrored surface and then it turned out to be water? Wouldn't that be a great little thing? And it is, because I remember that scene. I don't really need anything behind it for me to remember it. And I don't think it
I
really it
get
doesn't.
why it's there. It's
No,
just
but
I
I'm
don't
saying
get the
it.
purpose within the world.
Does it damage him?
It could.
Does it damage him? I'm not saying it could. I'm asking, does it damage him? Does it damage the plot? Does it damage
Well, that's what I'm
the?
saying. As the point of, is it a black void or is it not a black void? Because if it's
Okay,
not,
well,
then
I've
yes.
already conceded it's probably not a black void.
Then I'd say, yeah, it damages them a little because it's completely pointless. And I'm leaning with Crimson that it's not needed.
Okay, coolest shot in the film. Get out of here. We're cutting you out. This is the cheap seat critics edit.
With it
No,
not being a
I
black
mean,
void.
I didn't do the sound. There we go.
if you're gonna keep
There
it,
we
you
go.
have to
There we go.
justify it. That's usually.
I did justify. I tried. Okay, I tried to justify it, but it didn't. It didn't go over.
Your
and I'm
justification
conceding
was that it's completely normal.
What do you mean
That's
that it
not
was
what he said
completely?
at all.
That it looks normal to Ash. That's what he said. That it just looks like him in a mirror.
Because it would look. It's a mirror. It's a mirror. But because I told you to do the effect, it's not gonna look like the cabin because you can't have the water.
So they should play with the effect that they have.
What is the effect that they have?
A black void.
How are they going to play with that?
It's a demonic.
You have to explain that. You have to explain how they're going to play with that.
The fact that Ash sees it, and they could even pull a little farther away, so like Ash coming up to it, because of the reflection, that it's already black to begin with, giving a difference in it's not the cabin room, because as to get the effect on it has to be on the floor because of gravity of the water, and Ash can see it as something's off. He can use his hand for it because it's the Evil Dead Ash, and everyone's a little dumb here, So using his hand, fine. To show the water effect, I would have said use the weapon to test it. Could have still had the same effect of the gun going through for the water. But being that it's a black void shows that it's not normal and it's demonic possessed change. Much like the clock freezing and what was another demonic change? I guess the bench outside, if you want, it's the movement of it. There's certainly a far more examples in the second Evil Dead of demon possession stuff, but for an instance in this film, I feel like it could be that. And if it is that because of the Black Void, I think it plays off better to at least test to make sure what is wrong with this item because it looks different.
All right, for the two people on the opposite side of me, what do you think about his example?
I felt like someone with hindsight 2020 vision, and not going in the mindset of an average person. You sound like a D&D player. You don't sound like an average Joe, which is what Ash is. Ash is the average Joe.
I stand by my thing where I think it's a psychological event. I'm on my own little island with this. I don't care. I'll live and die on this hill. F everybody else. I think it justifies itself, but I'm not going to force it. We're going to keep going because there's a way cooler blood scene about to happen where somebody's eyes get poked out
and paint comes out.
And paint.
And stop motion on a record player.
And a skull-shaped necklace.
Is a skull-shaped
Was the
necklace?
I always
uh
found that cheesy. The
It,
chain of the necklace forms the shape of a skull when it's on the ground.
yeah, and I'm sure Sam Raimi was really proud of himself when that was in, and now it's kind of easy.
It is.
Because I'm sure 90% of people didn't pick it up at all when it came. Oh, it looks like a skeleton. That's kind of cool. Oh,
Sinister, I
Wonder
missed
why.
it.
you missed it. There you go.
I didn't
It's
catch
yeah,
it.
it's because
I missed it the first time I
yeah,
watched it.
I'm sure it was set up, and then they were just like, oh, "This is taking way too long. Let's just have the one shot of it and not care about the rest of it." So I don't think it's in. I think it's only in that one scene where he picks it up. I don't think it's like
Yeah,
that when he
then he
drops
picks
it.
it up and messes it up.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
question for you, Sinister. When Ash is hearing stuff said in the past of "we're gonna get you" and the dismemberment and hit her from Scotty saying it, is that him in his own mind hearing those things, or is that the demon saying that stuff in the present?
I think it's a mix of both.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure it's probably meant to be just a demon, but because it says stuff that happened before, I'm not 100% sure. 'Cause some of it's
sorry.
kind of
Yeah, sorry, I'm being really quiet because I'm still mulling over the mirror scene.
I didn't realize.
I'm
I honestly did not think we were going to have a whole thing about the mirror. I thought we'd all
yeah,
be in agreement on that
I
one.
We had a whole
I
thing on
think
Cheryl's hill walk in the car. I mean,
Well, that was not like
yeah, I think I can see what you're coming from, Sinister. I have to watch it again though. I can sort of see that being an angle that they could play into it, but I definitely need to watch it again. Um, I think
like
that's
I
pretty
will
much
concede in the second one they do a better job. But
yeah. I mean, I do have in my notes that this is better than Doctor Strange 2, so I
yeah,
clearly like it. It's just,
yeah.
I do
Why
think it's missing I think it's missing the element to make it great, if that makes sense.
I know we all like the effect. I
Yeah.
know that. I just wish we were all in agreement that it fit. That was my because I think it fits.
Like I said, I can see your explanation. I just need to watch it again. That's pretty much what I'm coming away with because uh it could work. There is an element of like him being in total shock and him like touching his face first. I can see that. Like he's trying to ground himself.
Mhm.
Um so yeah, like I said, I just need to watch it again, I think.
Cool.
So that's my very, very belated commentary on that
No,
conversation.
it's all good.
that's fine.
That's a skull.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
In the Discord, that we have, just saw the image of the skull.
maybe they'll get put in post.
I don't think
Alright.
so, but
Yeah, I don't think so. Uh, all right, we're kind of leading up to a scene that I really want to talk about with the decay, we'll call it. But I want to make sure everybody else gets kind of whatever if they have before that, so I don't rush to the ending.
oh, like as
Jason
if you have
Barry.
one last thing and you're holding on to it.
Well, if you have anything before that scene, yeah, like
I
to
couldn't
talk about.
tell. I using the necklace to hook the book. I couldn't tell if he was trying to spread the fire to the book or he was trying to pull the book closer at
He was
first.
trying. Yeah, he's trying.
Hold the
But
book.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah. Ultimately, it becomes very clear that
yeah,
he's
yeah, yeah.
trying to pull the book to him so he can throw it into the fire. Um, but
Very
The special
lucky.
effect, yeah,
very lucky, yes.
the special effects guy said that Sam didn't realize how big the book was going to be, and so the necklace was not the best tool because I think that was a planned thing, and realized that the necklace was pretty stupid for that.
And indeed it was. It was
And indeed,
pretty stupid.
that's probably one of the stupidest scenes. I'm not a fan of that one. Probably one of the lamest scenes in the movie.
Especially since he's
But
just being held by his leg and being whacked with a fire poker.
yeah, he's not getting stabbed.
Yeah,
If
another
he got
example
stabbed,
of them just playing with them instead
yeah,
of killing them.
he's a lot of fun. He's almost indestructible.
He's a fun pinata.
Yeah. All right. So nothing else before we tackle the rot.
The kind of jump scare of Scotty before he gets his eyes gouged in.
Ooh.
I like the effect that the wind outside stopped, so it went silent.
I kind of like how his
I
mask
think that's my
looks.
favorite jump scare in the film.
Yeah. I also like that they're very careful to not show Scotty in the room anymore.
Yeah,
Up until that
kind of
point. So
kind of
like
bad on Ash not to notice.
they're
You
it
know
was bad
he's
on Ashley.
there, but they're not showing you to remind you.
Yeah. Which I think is good enough because it can kind of settle in the audience's mind that he might have the corpses could the demons could have dragged the body away, or they could be doing something else with it, or that he's turned himself. There's a lot to play around with because of how unusual I guess the world is.
And because they don't focus on it too much as an audience member, because so much is going on, you just don't think of Scotty anymore. He's kind of just out of your mind at this point. At least for me. Don't wanna
Oh,
attribute that to everybody.
we forgot about I don't know if this got brought up, but Ash fumbling with the drink, trying to make his dead friend drink.
We'll be good. We'll be
Yeah,
fine.
that was just hard. That was just hard copium. But I think I liked the idea behind that scene as well. Because Ash is just an average man in a very very unaverage, abnormal situation.
Very abnormal.
Yes. All right. Now
So,
we
so
come to the
yeah, Sinister, your thing is on the decay. That's what you want to touch on?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so a question.
Mm-hmm.
When Cheryl, I guess, to the almost like at the point of decaying, and an arm comes out from the front and back of her
Hmm.
part, which definitely looks propped because of the how wide her base is, kind of gives her like a dress look. Are those supposed to be the arms of the Kandarian demon? I couldn't quite get what
Yeah.
those
I
two
mean,
things are.
that's again down to they didn't really establish the lore, so it's something that's only in this movie that they never really touch on ever again. Um, yes, yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, a physical manifestation.
Mhm.
All right, that was just a question I had. You can go ahead.
Okay. All right. So this is probably one of the scenes this movie's kind of most famous for. And it's a staple of Evil Dead films up until probably the remake and then the newest one. Stop motion, because Sam Raimi was a big fan of what's uh the
Argonauts.
yeah,
Jason.
Jason the Argonauts, the guy who did that. I'm blanking on his name right now, which is I mean just
Rudolph.
terrible. No,
No.
it's not Rudolph.
Spy Kids 2.
No, the guy who did it, I'm blanking on his name because he did every movie that had stop motion. That was a big budget movie. Had his Harryhausen, Ray Harryhausen was a big fan of Ray Harryhausen. So obviously, the best way to kind of have this decay scene was to do it in stop motion because you can gradually, take away and add stuff. It was done with a mixture of, I believe, Tom Sullivan and Bart Pierce. I could not find how long it took, but it probably took a month or so, I'm assuming. And it was mostly all done in Bart Pierce's basement.
Huh.
Yeah, I
Uh,
can't even imagine doing this one. I
yeah.
would imagine it took more than a month.
Oh, it probably took way longer than that, but for sake of giving at least a little bit of probably took more than that. And because of the nature of it, it kind of had to be set up beforehand so it could accurately be put in and it wouldn't be super, hard to overlay it. So Bart Pierce had the cameraman, who was Tim Philo for most of the film, if it wasn't Sam Raimi or anybody else who was available to hold the camera, uh, on how to photographed the film for these blow ups specifically, so they would kind of mesh better with the film in the end. Uh, so it's about as fast as it could get at 16 millimeter, but it probably would have been much faster at 35 millimeter.
Okay. I think it was still played
So,
off fine.
oh yeah, it still
Especially
works.
for
It's still good.
it's not so much of like a jump to getting corny with stop motion because it's being used previously in the film. I don't know if that could be played into a part also with the frame rate change of the slow mo / sped up parts, like for the door in the cellar or the Queen of Spades card. If that's kind of to give like a little, um, not foreshadowing, but like a little tease that it's prominent as a form of filming uh, to be done, so it's not as jarring as to the end scene. I'm sure to captivate
Um,
people in, Sam maybe thought of like other uses to use it. So when it got to that scene of like the big kind of climax, like hurrah of the film, it didn't just come across as like silly.
um, well, so oh, sorry, I misread what I wrote down. So actually, so when they were doing the stop motion, they shot it at whatever they had to shoot at the 16 millimeters instead of what would normally you would shoot a stop motion thing would be 35 millimeters. Um, and they could have done it in 35 millimeters much faster, but it took longer to do if they did it in 16 millimeters. Sorry, that was my mistake. I misread that.
No, it's okay.
And they're using half frame animation, so 2 superimposed exposures per frame for more fluid movement. Matter with live
I
action, just about every shot went through the camera, everywhere from 3 to 7 times.
Nightmare.
yeah, sounds like it was a nightmare to shoot. But
Let's see, there's a thing here. Because of the multiple passes by individual shots through the camera, minor errors meant footage had to be scrapped and refilmed. One shot of Scott's head, where bile is beginning to bubble up, hair is falling out, and so on, included both live action and animation elements and had to be shot 5 times. By the end of their work, Sullivan and Pierce were turning out a shot every other day or so, and all the shooting, optical, and mechanical effects took Pierce, Sullivan, and several assistants 3.5 months. So,
Yeah,
that's a
that,
lot.
that sounds right.
That sounds right. Yeah.
right. And I do have a number for how long it took to edit the movie, which originally was determined to be about 6 to 8 weeks, ended up taking 20.
Jeez.
Also accurate. It's
6 weeks to 12 weeks, 6 weeks to 20.
16
Yeah.
to
They
66
mistake
pages.
everything.
Yeah.
sense in a pattern here.
Hey, this is what happens when you
Like
make a
it's an
movie for the
early
first
film or
time.
something.
Yeah.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, like I said, they're learning their lessons.
Well, Sinister, this is Sam Raimi's directorial debut.
Feature length, yeah.
Feature length. Okay.
Yeah. He like I said, he'd made movies before this, obviously, but like nothing that was like a professional, grade. It was all student films or, just with friends and stuff. Not that this wasn't made with friends, but this had lighting, this had, a set.
More
Well,
production design into it.
Yeah.
The thing I didn't like about the stop motion was the tongue on the book. That didn't
Yeah, that
really
was
fit for me. That was
I think they did
I
it for
kinda
one.
wanted.
I think they did it for the other one, and they were like, "Hey, can you do it for the book too?" And then they were like, "Okay," because the other one
Yeah,
looks
I
way
think I'd
better.
agree. I think I'd agree with that. It's just a minor thing, but yeah, I think the tongue on the book didn't fit.
Uh, as for other effects or practical effects, I guess
Hmm.
the applesauce or whatever that was, I
Yeah,
I kind of liked it, even though it was very obviously applesauce.
it's a disgusting, very disgusting scene. It
Sure,
still kind of grosses
applesauce,
me out.
oatmeal, and tapioca could have been uses.
And
Yeah,
probably mothballs, or like the
obviously some
stuff
sort of
inside
food.
mothballs. Whatever it was disgusting.
It did its
Great.
job. And Ash
Um,
lived happily ever after.
yeah,
'Cause
the
everyone died, right?
the scene with the forest that chases him after he leaves the cabin after he burns the book, which we never mentioned, is why all the demons exploded. Obviously, I mean, no other way around that. Um, that's shot on a bicycle.
Oh, that's
Oh,
actually
going
pretty
through the house.
impressive.
Yeah, going through the house. It's
I'm
yeah, it's
assuming
a
they sped the
bicycle.
footage up.
Oh yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
100% they sped it up. But
yeah.
I think it looks pretty decent for that style of creature vision.
That's cool.
That's right. The book did destroy the demons, but then there's a demon.
Well, it destroyed
It destroyed
the
the
physical one.
Deadites,
Yeah.
not the Kandarian demon, not
Sure.
the
I guess
force.
they're dormant. Yeah.
By
Fair
the
enough.
way, during one of the shots when Ash is like using the necklace to grab the book, uh, the clock in the background does not read 10 to 6.
I mean, it was moving earlier, right? So is that just the new time it stopped at?
Possibly. I couldn't make out if it's already 10 to 3 or 10 after 3 for when it stops. But I just know it's not the same time as before.
Yeah, because when he was going crazy, the clock was moving, right?
Yes, I think
So
so.
I guess that's just what it landed on.
I guess that explains the morning shot then. When it wakes up and that's just where the clock stopped. It's not actually the set time.
Hmm. I don't think I have anything else.
Right.
Let me double check, but I think I don't have anything else either.
Why? I have a question. Why was the Kandarian demon looking at a leaf?
Because it was
There was an
pretty.
interesting bug on it.
It was a. He wanted to see if he could take over the leaf, but he realized that no, the leaf was dead, and he had to take over Ash.
Gotcha. All
If
right.
you're
So
just a
there's
demon
no
that's
real
stuck
answer.
wandering in the woods, what are you gonna do?
I need to rewatch the film, but I for some reason I think for a first time viewing, it stuck out to me I guess the stop motion decay took a little bit too long.
I just noticed something.
Stop motion wasn't
Being
stop
the
motion; it
one
was real.
currently for the YouTube recording situation going on right now for a YouTube audience, uh, current screenshot is the Kandarian demon arms coming out of Cheryl. You can see the clock in the background, and it is now at 10 to 6.
Okay.
Okay, do
Then
with
I
that
guess it's just a
information what you will.
continuity error. Okay.
I didn't catch that. Well, actually, none of us caught it.
No, because I don't think any of us cared about the time that the
No,
clock
I
said.
was looking at the monster coming out of the person.
Yeah, I
So
thought
yeah,
I
okay.
thought I thought
There's a continuity error with the clock.
yeah, I think part of my confusion with the whole stop motion scene was that I thought the demons were emerging out of them.
Yeah, I'm sure that was probably the idea, and then they realized that
They don't have the budget.
well, they don't have that budget. That was just a cool little, again, gore for gore's sake of, oh, we should have
Yeah.
like some fucking demons pop out of these people. It's like, oh yeah, that's be great.
It was very, very, very good imagery, but like I said, I think it was just a little bit too long. But again, first time viewing, it might grow on me subsequent
Like
ones.
yeah,
So
like I said, they literally never used that trope ever again for any of the future movies, really. So it's only in this. They don't revisit that at all. Which is
dang it.
again another blind spot.
Well, it's not canon and canon at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I mean,
Evil Dead
they
has the weirdest timeline.
well, because they literally couldn't use the first movie for like the first like 20 years. Now they can, but they obviously they pick and choose what they want from it because most of it doesn't really make sense in the other ones either. But
And with that,
just
I do have nothing else left.
all right,
I'm
we all
looking through
good.
my notes.
Crimson, any nitpicks you want to throw in towards the end now that we're almost finished? Anything you got to get off your
Well,
chest?
as a nitpicker, after all,
Yeah.
there was a speck of blood on Bruce Campbell's face that was not there in a different shot.
Is
I
that
throw it
just
out
You
there.
is
son
that
of a
something you
bitch.
just came up off the top of your head, or are you actually pointing it out?
I'm sure.
Absolutely, but I'm sure it's back.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it's real. Yeah.
It happened a couple times.
Any continuity errors I said already that I
Yeah. I
noticed.
mean, this movie is. I'm not gonna. It's rife with continuity errors.
I guess the last thing I have that we covered a little, but just a question. Being that the moonlight spotlight kind of situation they have on when Cheryl gets out of the car and it's a white spotlight, and when Linda is being pulled out into the front lawn by Ash and it's a white spotlight, how come the moon, when depicting the moon with the fog going over it, is not white but orange?
Do you want an actual
I,
answer, or do you want me to
no,
just?
I'll answer.
Okay.
It's a safer answer. Um, I think you're taking it a little too literal. Um, I never took at least the Linda outside part. I don't particularly remember the lighting for the other one. For the Linda, I'm pretty confident that's not supposed to be the moonlight because it is way too spotlit on
Yeah.
just them. It would be the whole area. So that is purely production purposes. That is not an immersive purpose. That is not part of the world.
Oh, so that
That was
light is
just for the
just
shot.
okay. Okay,
Because
so
if it was
that
the
light
moon,
in the
it would
world
be
is
everywhere,
nothing.
and there's no porch light, so it wouldn't be that. So just for production for the shot.
Because most films, if they shot at night, how we actually see the night, they'd just be pitch black, and we wouldn't see anything.
Okay,
Yeah,
and I so I
let's do.
Blair
guess
Witch.
so the same thing is played again when Cheryl gets out of the car, and it's from
That's the one I
her
don't
perspective
remember too
looking
well.
forward, and that light on the top left is just there to kind of like blend out anything that if that light wasn't there, you could actually see that maybe they're not at the exact bridge location or whatever.
I'll say yes, but like I said, I don't remember that scene specifically. I remember the other one way more clear.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that was just a question on the difference in the lighting of the moon.
Racha.
All right, and with that, we survived the Evil Dead.
We did,
Maybe the
just like
Force will
maybe
come and
Ash
get us.
did.
Yeah.
Well, we survived. Every time you've talked so far, you got those white eyes.
Well, I'm infected, but not off and on.
Only half possessed.
I got better.
You made a pact. They can only
Yeah.
possess you half the
Monty
time.
Python reference.
Yeah, it was. Thank you. All right. We will now go into our synopsis, or little and our review. Um, I will go last because I probably have the most to say, and I don't want to take up too much time. All right, I'm gonna start with Sprinks.
Oh boy.
It's weird it was me for a second.
I'll only give you twice in a row once, okay? I'm not gonna
Okay.
do it.
Hey, Sinister, any possibility you could have someone else go?
Okay, writer.
Okay.
Maybe somebody
So
else.
yeah, so I'll go, I guess.
Okay.
So my thing, I guess with the film, was again it's first time viewing. I had a lot of subjective up and downs, so I'll go with this first, obviously. Um, but I think I enjoyed myself.
Gotta
And
make sure you
ultimately,
enjoyed
yeah,
yourself.
I think I ultimately enjoyed myself. There were only a few times where I just tilted my head and wondering why they chose to use that sound effect or that made that creative decision. Whether it be fostered by necessity or what their actual vision was. It I still found myself just entertained But it didn't blow me out of the water. Um, I'm sure I'd watch it again with a group of friends, but I don't think I would watch it again by myself. Um, I think I'm gonna give this a subjective 5. Um, Objectively, there is a lot of world building problems. As we kind of gone over, the demonic possession doesn't make much sense, and it's inconsistent. Pretty much, it's reliant upon they're just gonna torture Ash, which is fine if I felt they knew if they gave us a justification for it, which they didn't. Um, but world building is a bit of a mess. Um, in that regard, the plot's pretty simple. Um, it's the classic horror. Young group of Doshgarn youths go out to a cabin in the middle of the woods and get haunted and get killed off one by one. Um, I think, however, the strongest part of this film that holds it up for me is the characters. I found them to be pretty generic at first. Ash being the exception, just based upon the scant glimpses I've had of his character going into this. Um, but I think all the other characters were pretty strong, with the weakest of them being Shelley. Um, because I think everyone else has a purpose almost. Um, and not almost everyone else has a purpose, and everyone has a distinct voice. We kind of talked over who's the quote unquote protagonist, being Ash or Scotty, or like the main hero of the story, which one ever pushes the story forward. Um, I'm still leaning on Ash on that one, but I think that there's enough to argue that Scott could be perceived as that, considering he's the one that's making a lot of the decisions early on, while Ash is just being kind of, well, the normal Joe that's just kind of scared. Um, I think my objective is also a 5 out of 10.
Right. Crimson.
Duke. So I'll start with my subjective as well. As I mentioned during my history, when I first saw it, I just thought it was okay, probably like 6-ish, something I'd watch again, which I obviously did. And at the point where I'm at now, being pretty immersed into the world of Evil Dead, this is definitely on the lower side of the franchise for me. It's tonally very different from everything else, and pretty disconnected overall. A big element of the franchise as a whole at this point is an element of humor, which there's some points where they try to make Scotty humorous, but it's more just as a jerk. uh, so this feels different. It's not part of the franchise, but obviously I'll watch it again. Giving it a 7 because I still do enjoy it. Objectively, continuity errors everywhere. I was going through in my head, is how would this compare to Brain Dead? Some things are better than others, and that there's a budget element involved in this as well. What are they capable to do? Such a low budget. You said around 80,000, 80 to 90, right?
85 to 90,000
Yeah.
from the beginning, and then obviously probably for some of the stop motion they got some extra money because it ended up costing about 350,000 to finish the film.
Okay.
But
Still
the special effects may
very
bump it up to
small budget.
150.
Yeah. Presented with everything they have, I think they did pretty well. You saying that half the production time they didn't have half or a good chunk of the cast. I think pretty impressive. They got a pretty cohesive story out of that. But that is behind the scenes stuff, not necessarily what's presented in front of us. The special effects with the makeup, I think is pretty 50-50. There's some really bad looking stuff like the puppet or the face when Cheryl got shot the first time, But then there's good visuals like Scotty. I agreed. I think Scotty has the best face makeup. Then Linda's got good face makeup, but it's pretty different. Like we said, kind of a doll look. She looks pretty different. Uh, Across the acting, I think the acting's fine for a B film, but anything past that, no. So I guess it fits the genre of the campy cabin teen stuff. So I think overall, though, I'm putting on the same level of Brain Dead. I'm giving it a 5 as well, like Ryder.
Right, and Springs, have you had time to?
Yes, I'm good. I'm good. Sorry, there was just a technological fluke. Um, you know what? I'll go in tune as Ryder and Crimson have, and I'll go with my subjective first. I can let you know that I no longer hate the film. I have grown in appreciation, I guess, just with age and intake of experience through different film techniques and more, films being covered. And I've seen that I now have a more appreciation for what Sam Raimi did and the cinematography he used, his directing he did, um, the on the fly writing, as you say, and how to like build something that was somewhat established and like the whole student film feel of the film, but being a huge, big situation of it coming out. Um, but so I've definitely it's raised in that aspect for me subjectively because I can see more of the enjoyment out of it from the crew. The film itself, however, I still am not a big fan of. I think it's all right. It's not a film I think I would recommend to someone the only reason I would like put it out to someone I think is if A, you want to see Sam Raimi's like early work. B, you're doing a whole marathon of Evil Dead. I wouldn't say it's like something to skip pretty much. Even though Evil Dead 2 covers it in 15 minutes, you said Sinister about.
Yeah,
Um
pretty much.
yeah. So it could be skipped for the story to still continue, but overall it to me is middle of the road pretty much. So I'm giving it a 5.5 subjectively. I'm sure on my first watch I would have probably given it a 2, if that helps tell you how much it's raised. Now,
Yeah, that says a lot. Yeah.
yeah, objectively, movie's got problems. It's got continuity things all over the place. I think the acting's pretty spot on uh, for who they are. There's not like a lot of like emotional things that go on. It's just kind of like fear, and they're good at establishing fear from all the characters. I think the cinematography is very creative and a lot of usage. I'm a big fan of Dutch angles that aren't overused, and this was not. The film had a lot of not foreshadowing, but techniques shown, so it wasn't a big jump later on. For example, the whole truck at the beginning using Dutch angles on that was played off later in the film when there's Dutch angles of the whole cabin when Ash is losing his sanity. So it's not just a kind of a tone shift. Uh, 180. It's something you've seen before that's been established, and they bring it back. So I do like that, and the stop motion use. So it's at the end. The gore effect. I think though the pacing, however, is a little off. I think the pacing could have had build up to more things. For example, Cheryl turning into a deadite, I think could have had more of a build up than just turning her head, like seeing the cards behind her head situation. I think the Scotty running off and coming back in 2 minutes could have had a little more to it, a little more of like Ash and Linda situation, or maybe even forgot he was out there, or maybe he ran into Ash when he's outside. Um, I think the just deadite situation of who's turning when, of I guess the Kandarian demon giving choice of when wants to change. It has to be physical contact, pretty much, like Cheryl in the woods, and then Shelly when the window broke in from her room or the room she was in. So that was kind of spotty, but then again, it's the Kandarian demon, and we don't really know how it works or how it plays other than the one tape recording we've heard. Let's see. I think the set works fine. The whole cabin and then the basement and what they were able to use with different uh, filming locations to make it like feel like the basement actually is connected fully. It doesn't really play off of like you can tell like the block wall of when Scotty goes down to check it out at the very beginning, and then when Ash goes down to find him, you can't really see that end wall part. So I think that plays nice and flow. The music, that I think it's a little dated, but it's still fine. It plays off fine. I like the eeriness. I like the sadness parts. I like the lovey-dovey part that plays of Linda and Ash doing like their eye checking game with each other. The only thing that was weird was, Sinister, as you said, it sounds like saxophone, but to me it was like a little techno thing when he's running the back door. And Ryder, you brought it up. It was also at the bridge part, which I should go back and listen if it is. I think I really like that it pulls in a lot of homage. It's not fully creative on Sam Raimi's part, but possibility of pulling from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Texas Chainsaw, Halloween. If it is or isn't, only confirmed from the facts that you gave Sinister and the history you found. So I do like that it's incorporated, but it's not all full. Can be like, that's a Raimi thing, that's a Raimi thing. The Raimi things were the Dutch angle usages, the Delta 88, the camp T-shirt, like kind of like the Easter eggs that are there to find in a Raimi film. But I still like his take of filmmaking and what he does, even for this early work here. So overall, seeing that I'm rambling and I don't want to take every single thing from Sinister that he could speak on, I give it a 6.
So I'm going last. Had a lot of discussions of the merits of this movie and whether the creativity kind of wins out on the amateurish at the end, and just discuss that, or I'll discuss that with myself in these coming moments. I definitely said at the beginning, or hope I said at the beginning, that this is definitely not my favorite of the franchise. I like the second one more because I feel like the second one gets to the heart of this one a lot quicker, and it kind of expands upon it, and it does it a lot more, I'll say, slick. There's a much more of a industry advancement, and definitely a higher budget, so that goes a long way on both ends. But this one definitely has like the spirit, and it definitely has like the heart that is somewhat lacking from a lot of the other ones that came after, with a few exceptions, obviously. I think that a lot of it comes down to the ramshackle nature of how it was done, and the production behind it, and the trials and tribulations of the cast and crew, all that good stuff. Uh, I didn't get into a lot of them, but there was countless issues that arose on set from being first time filmmakers and first time kind of like professional actors. Uh, and I'm sure a lot of them would probably have killed an experienced crew, and thankfully they were mostly all inexperienced, so they really didn't know how big those problems would be until they got around them and figured it out, and worked through it and got it done, which is
Speaks to their tenacity, I suppose.
yeah, it's I think nowadays we're very everybody can get it. You can use your cell phone and everything, and back then it was a really hard thing to get a movie done. Film stock cost a lot, and that was the only way you could film anything. 16 millimeter was definitely cheaper than 35 millimeter, but still, it was that was expensive. And, the movie cost God, what probably most people spend on actors now, I would imagine. Not even A-list actors, like B or C-list actors. Actually, this movie probably costs about what a normal season of a show costs, maybe, or a couple episodes of a show. So think about that. I think this movie is definitely slow to kind of find its identity. It's kind of a pastiche through most of it, of every roadhouse, or drive-in movie theater horror film up to a certain point, and then it finally, in that last quarter or last third, gets its identity with Ash and Bruce Campbell as a leading figure, king of the B movies, uh, and kind of finds the creativity that is definitely done so well for Sam Raimi in years since. And it's an incredible story of the production alone is an incredible story of, like Ryder said, tenacity and following through. And most of those people, at least Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, a couple of the crew members, and some of the actors went on to do bigger things. And definitely Sam Raimi went on to do way bigger things. But instead of Bruce Campbell, he got to be in Burn Notice and Xena Warrior Princess and all that stuff. And eventually Ash vs. Evil Dead, his magnum opus. But and obviously each movie in Evil Dead got bigger and bigger, and had a different theme or a different spirit to it. But talking about this one specifically, I think there are problems, and knowing the inner workings of the production and everything going into it and everything working against it, it's amazing the movie got finished, and it's amazing it makes as much sense as it does, and it actually has some artistry to it. If you had told me, oh yeah, this guy who directed it, he did like a couple of Super 8 films with his friends, and then like 2 or 3 student films, and then he did a directorial debut with a feature length, I would be like, you're fucking nuts. So there is the diamond in the rough aspect of it that is very apparent, and I think you can, not through the whole thing, but you can see moments of this guy's probably going to go on and do some pretty impressive stuff, and some of these actors are going to go on and do some pretty impressive stuff as well. So I am probably going to give this a very biased rating. We definitely talked about all the problems, and I'm sure, in fact, I know there's a list of every continuity error, of every goof, of every, failing of this production. But I still love it. I still think it's got a lot to show for what it is. If every director's debut was about as good as this, I think we'd have to have like so many Oscars invented for it. We'd have to have so many more places, because it's pretty impressive. I'm gonna give a biased rating of about an 8, and I think I can feel confident in that.
Fair enough. Fits your scale, anyways.
Yeah.
Well,
Ryder,
gentlemen,
would
if
you-
that's
would you-
all, shall I?
yeah.
Yeah, shall I read us out?
Please do, my good man.
All right.
Yep.
Well, audience, thank you for listening, whether it be Spotify, Anchor, Amazon, Castbox, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Samsung. And if you're on the YouTube side of things or anywhere else, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And tell us how much you hate our opinions or how much you love them. As always, I have been a geeky writer.
I'm Person Around.
I'm a character called Sinister Boy.
And I'm Sprinks.
And we will catch you next time. Later, everybody, and happy Halloween.
Bye
Happy
bye.
Halloween.
Toodaloo.